Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Ready to go. De Los Santos pitch. And Hernandez swings. It's a drive. Deep to left field. It's a grand slam. The fourth career grand slam for Teoscar Hernandez.
First pitch inside, and it hit him, and the Brewers take a 1-0 lead. He yanked a fastball to Kyle Gibson and hit Jake Bauers with a pitch. A bases loaded RBI for Bauers.
Now Robertson steps wide of Middlestat for Stankoven for the empty net. He's got a 2-goal game, and the Stars are 27 seconds away from a 2-1 series lead.
Sent down by Van Riemsdyk. The final seconds tick away, and the Panthers take both here in Boston. A 3-2 win for the Panthers here at TD Garden. And the Panthers take a 3-1 lead in this second round, best-of-7 series.
Loose ball, Jokic, front court corner, got two hands. Denver's dropped 61 on Minnesota. They throw it away. Murray three. Oh my God! From behind the half-court line, everybody's falling asleep except for me and Jamal Murray. He knocked that thing home.
The final seconds tick off the clock, and it's like a rerun. Groundhog Day, again and again and again. The Celtics lose the game at home, then come on the road and wrestle home court advantage right back. The final score in Game 3, Boston 106, Cleveland 93.
Good morning. Welcome into Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla on the Pillar Exterior stage here at the Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. DB, what's going on, man?
Hi.
What's up?
How are we doing?
I'm doing good.
It's a little muggy in here, so I'm gonna maybe put the headsets down and just walk over to the thermostat. I know you think I should be able to wait 22 minutes, but that's an eternity.
Well, I mean, we do have a producer who could do that for us.
Does he know how to work that thing?
I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. There's a heat and a cool button, and then there's arrows up and down.
Shane, is that thing cool?
That thing what?
Who isn't? I'm just for the record. So there's two things. One, I prematurely called my shot, and I'm glad nobody called me on it. So thank you. The other thing that I called my shot on, I told you Shannon Sharp was doing too much. Go way back to when I asked you. I'm like,
yeah,
does it just seem like
right? It was it before Johnny Manziel? It was before Cat Williams, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then Cat Williams came out, and
I was like,
what's happening here?
It just seems like too much too fast for old Shannon. And now
there's a lot going on there.
Well, the funny thing is he's got. I like Shaq, but I know he's extremely immature.
Shaq?
Yeah. So he looks bad.
Yeah.
In my opinion. But I just felt like this thing with Shannon Sharp was like spiraling out of control.
It seems like he's at a real loose grasp on that wheel for a minute.
Man.
Just hoping a prayer.
But, I'm like, what is this? Is this Austin Rivers and Nate Jones?
Hey, 30 NBA guys. 30.
Bro. Full disclosure.
Yeah.
This is embarrassing, but it's not. I argued.
Oh, no.
Legit argued with Coach Cooper for 3.5 hours.
About what?
About
the NBA NFL thing?
Yes.
Oh, my gosh. What did he think?
Wrong.
So here's my question. I got to ask this.
He thought wrong.
So I have to ask this question because it seems like.
I mean, in the middle of the restaurant.
It seems like the Nebraska coaching staff, if I'm judging by their philosophy.
It depends on if you're talking to the smart guys or not.
Agrees with me.
Me, Coach Knighton, Coach Rule.
I'm just saying Coach Rule's like entire philosophy with recruiting is like, give me the good athletes, we'll teach them how to play football.
Which
would lead me to believe he agrees with me.
And the greatest thing about Coop is his delivery style.
Yeah.
Oh, it's intense.
He's got real intense eyes.
Oh, he can't do anything and chill. Just can't. Walks angry.
So he's like the opposite of me.
Oh yeah. No, there's some similarities there. No, it's just not a good argument. We had the whole. I mean, it was just. I don't know what like Austin Rivers is doing, but he went ultra petty when he went to the bank account. But Nate did go to the nepotism thing. So it was like, yeah, that's probably not going to land real well because then all gloves are off.
At least one of the zeros on Austin Rivers' bank account is because his dad just kept giving him contracts. I mean, let's be real here. He just kept popping up everywhere Doc was.
So is everybody, everybody's just like going to make music that's upset? Like, we're so mean-spirited sometimes.
I can't get on board with the rap beefs. I just don't care. I really don't. And part of it's because
I'm a child, so I kind of do. Actually, it's because I have kids.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
but
it's like
I mean, like back in the day.
Back in the day when I was young, I used to hang in the park.
People used to get like murdered over rap.
Oh,
beefs.
I know.
So I have a hard time taking Drake.
Now, Kendrick Lamar did say he'll come see Drake if he didn't keep his friends.
Yeah, they all say that.
Adult friend out of his mouth.
They all say that.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, come find out.
Well, a couple of that guys did find out.
Yeah, like 30 years ago. Like, I don't take.
Dang, was Tupac and Biggie 30 years ago?
Almost on the dot. It's 94, right?
It's been a minute.
I'm not asking you, Shane.
It'll be 30 years in July.
So the DJ can't spin. I guess not.
I guess not.
When Pac got shot, it'll be 30 years in July.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I don't think Drake is about that life.
Is Austin Rivers?
No.
I mean, nothing says hood like Austin Rivers.
Nothing says country club baby like Austin Rivers. That dude grew up in Orlando playing golf like next to Tiger Woods.
I asked over the weekend. I asked for a club soda.
Yeah,
and they brought it to me in a bottle. I'm still being ridiculed for that, and it's not even really what I said. It was clear and it had bubbles. It was Topo Chico.
Yeah,
that's what they brought me.
The water
with some ice.
Yeah,
but it had bubbles. That ain't wet. Yeah, it was wet, Shane. Just the looks, the eyes. It's like
disappointment.
Hey, man, you do you over there. All right.
Listen, you gotta stand strong, even when Tommy Frazier's making fun of you for having a seltzer.
Hey, I saw something for you over the weekend.
Did you?
Yes.
What's that?
0-calorie, non-alcoholic White Claw.
Can't make me do a spit take. No, I like alcohol.
Selfish.
It's in these cool
0 calorie. You got me. I'm in.
It's in these cool little neon cans, and I was like, "Oh, how refreshing for my friend."
I'm just saying. Listen. The 0 calorie on board. But what's the point of drinking a White Claw if there's no alcohol involved?
Yeah, I just can't believe the creativity.
You know what I would like? If I want something that doesn't have alcohol, I'm gonna drink a Diet Coke.
By the way,
I got a lot of drinks this morning.
No, where's the Coke? Oh, it's already in there.
Yeah, it's in the thermos already.
So what's the little light brown thing?
That's me.
Coffee? Iced?
Yes, that's iced coffee.
You're weird.
Why?
I don't understand.
I wanted some croissants this morning.
Oh gosh.
And so I was like, okay, where can I get croissants? I can go to Starbucks. But I feel weird going to Starbucks and not ordering a drink. So I got the coffee too.
Ridiculous.
What?
Are you gonna let it sit for a while?
Well, I gotta finish my energy drink first.
Oh my gosh.
Because that's a non-negotiable. I have to get that down.
You're a mess.
Otherwise, I mean, it's like I'm not a morning person. Just because I do this for a living does not mean I'm a morning person.
So I kind of figured that out.
Yeah.
Because like the first couple minutes, like I'll do something dumb, entering the room, or because I like mornings.
Yeah.
But for like the first couple weeks, I'm like, he's not vibing.
Yeah, you thought I was like not ready to go.
Yeah, I was like,
which is fair because I look like I'm dead.
I'm like, what's wrong with this dude? Like those entrances are funny. Every morning is something different.
You do like a Jack Nicklaus thing in The Shining where you're just like, hello.
Like, I'm like, hey, we're here, right? We're above ground. Yeah. Numbnuts got the door for me this morning.
I saw that. I was about to come over and I saw he did it.
I can't find my keys.
Oh, that's no good.
Well, they're in there somewhere because the car starts.
Oh, that's dude, my wife does that all the time.
Oh wow!
She's like, they fell out.
Touche with the non-alcoholic thing.
Yeah, like they fell. She's like, they fell out of my bag, but I know they're in the car because it still starts. I'm like, all right, babe. It still opens when I go up next to it, so they got me in there somewhere.
Okay. Well, I don't technically, unless I'm driving. I don't. Well, if I'm at West Side, I need them. But I don't need them really. I never enter my house through the front door.
I don't care if I don't need them. Like, I am obsessive about having my keys.
Yeah, I better probably find them too, because there's this little thing that came on my car that says I need a new battery.
Ooh, yeah, on the fob.
Yeah,
mine does that sometimes too.
I was traumatized. I couldn't figure it out, so I took it to Battery Plus. Remember that, Shane? Like 4 or 5 years ago, and everybody's like emailing me like, "You're an idiot. It's not that big of a deal. Like, just take the little thing that looks like a quarter and put it in the back." And I was like, "I can't do it. I can't do it." So I went around the corner, went to Battery Plus. They're like, "Oh yeah, I just heard this segment."
I'm not one of those like YouTube figure it out guys.
Mm-hmm. Well, I tried it once. I was led down the primrose path about being able to fix my garage.
Yeah, no.
About 3 hours later, I had to call somebody.
It almost never works.
Yeah, I just didn't understand it.
I'm not mechanically inclined that way. And so anytime something like that happens, I'm not messing with it. I'm just like, hey, I got to call a guy because I'm going to make this worse. I'm not trying to pay more money because I thought I could fix it.
I'm vibing.
So I will take it somewhere.
We're lockstep.
Leave it to the professionals.
Yes. Yes.
No, we've got a good show for you here today.
A lot of talking.
We've got Sam McKewon at 8.
A lot of talking.
We got Alex Sindelar at 9.
A lot of jokes.
And then it's just me and DB.
Yeah, you, me, and Dupree. Did you know it was supposed to rain the way it did?
I did not.
It was 2:00, man, and it was coming down in sheets.
It was getting. Oh, did it really? Oh, it didn't wake me up.
Yeah.
Well,
I was up, but
I mean, you're always up.
I'd use the restroom.
I feel like.
Wait, I think at the house, when you're in your home, it's the bathroom, right?
I don't
not the
know.
restroom.
It doesn't matter.
I think it's I think technically it's the bathroom.
Is it?
Yeah.
Restroom is just public?
Restroom was without a bathing capability.
Oh, it's like a water closet.
Yeah. Pardon?
That's what they're called, technically.
A water closet?
Yeah. That's like, it's just the toilet and the sink.
Oh, I tell you, man, you like pee in your sleep. I was like,
no.
Why are you in the closet? You know, some kids do that.
Yeah, they like sleepwalk. And
yeah, not mine, but
apparently when I was a kid, I never actually peed, but my dad would like hear me walking around the house and like multiple times.
This would explain a lot. Have you been kind of out there your whole life?
Well, I'm a strange fellow. People know this about me. But he like multiple times would like catch me about to try and go to the bathroom, like in the office or in the kitchen or somewhere.
Yeah.
And he's like, nope. We got to go in here. I don't know. He must be a light sleeper because he was on
it.
Yeah.
Well, I think he just knew you were weird.
Probably. I mean, to be fair,
some of the good movies where you could probably star weren't out yet, but like Others and Them and Us.
Yeah, I don't like those movies. You know that about me.
I know.
I screwed up your Netflix algorithm.
Yeah. What did you watch?
So, okay, let's set the stage here. So DB's in Lincoln all weekend.
Yeah.
On Caleb's official visit.
Yep.
Right. So he's like, hey, can you like take care of the dogs for me? I was like, sure. Biggie and Buddha, they're chill. Take care of them. No big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So Saturday night, I go over there and let them out. And I'm like, okay, I got to either chill here till a couple hours or go home or go do something else. I was like, I'll just watch a movie. And so I'm like going through Netflix or whatever. And most of your Netflix stuff, I have zero interest in whatsoever.
You could tell what I like.
Yeah. I'm just like, nah, I'm not doing any of that.
What's wrong with it?
Well, a lot of it's just like a little more suspenseful than I'm interested in. I'm not going to say scary because I'm not a child.
You get scared easy?
No, I just don't like it. Like, I don't enjoy. I'm not going to like sit there and have nightmares. I just don't like the experience of watching it.
Yeah.
So
a few too many Catch a Killer.
Yeah, like
stuff.
There's a lot of like, I just gotta make sure that there's always like a third party around in case you are a serial killer. Like, I don't really know. If
it hasn't happened yet, I think I'm trending in the right direction.
I mean, you never know. People snap.
Sometimes. I did get Coach Brett did drop me off another box of rubber gloves.
I'm just saying there's a lot of like murder adjacent things on your Netflix, right? And so I'm like, okay.
I had an amazing conversation with somebody else that wanted to get into criminal behavior too.
Yeah.
It's not, but now they're coaching at a state university.
I'm sure it's fine.
Do you know who it was?
Was it one of the Nebraska guys?
Yeah.
Wanted to get into criminal. I mean, just from the intensity standpoint, I want to say Cooper. All right. If it's not like a super intense guy, I'm thinking like an intellectual.
He's ridiculously smart. Actually, his daughter is. She didn't like a 33 on her ACT, so she's going back for a perfect score.
Yeah, I got my 34, and I was deuces out.
God, that's good.
I was like, I don't. Somebody tried to get me to take it again. I was like, no.
Such a biased slant. Abilities.
What, reading and writing?
He's still mad at me about Netflix.
No, I wasn't mad. No, I was just I ended up watching this.
Hey, Satterfield.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, I could see Satterfield being like a detective.
Yeah, he's
like real no nonsense, just
unbelievable storyteller.
Yeah, so I'm like, and I gotta find some on this Netflix that is not like murdery and creepy and whatever.
Why didn't you just go to one of the kids?
Because I didn't want I figured I'd be easier to explain than I mess up the algorithm to you. And I also didn't want okay.
If you got me watching what's the playbook thing, Silver Linings Playbook or something, then you're out.
I have watched that, but I didn't watch that on yours. No, so I also didn't want it to be okay, because if you mess up the kids' algorithm and then shows them it's not something that's not supposed to, I didn't want to do that.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, we're just gonna keep it chill over here.
Yeah.
I don't want somebody dropping an F-bomb on the kids or something, and me being responsible for that.
Because you don't talk like that. No.
Not around children. Or around my mom.
Okay, I got you.
She don't know.
My bad.
No, so I ended up watching this movie called Yesterday, which I don't even actually like. I've seen it before. But it's about this dude who wakes up in a world where nobody else has heard the Beatles, and he's the only one that remembers the songs.
Sounds like the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
I mean, it's okay.
You know what? I think, is it older?
It's 10 years old, maybe.
So I was riding back from Minnesota with my buddy John Leslie, and I think he was trying to tell me about that show.
So the premise is really interesting.
He's a Beatles honk. Yeah, it had to be him. That's
why I like it. I really like the Beatles, and so I like hearing the guys sing the songs because they're cool. They're cool versions of them. But the actual plot of the movie's bad.
So you're not here for the overrated slander.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
If you're telling me the Beatles are overrated, it's you don't understand music, and that's okay, and that's fine. I'm not gonna listen.
Hey, I love how you try to nip it in the bud by bullying me with words. If I want to clap back on that, I will.
That's fine.
But he paints me in the corner if I even remotely disagree, I don't understand. That means I don't understand music.
Yep.
So the music in the movie was
I
good.
see what you did there.
Yeah, the music's good, and the guy.
I've always wondered that about that movie.
The guy that's covering the music is really good, I think the premise is interesting.
Spoiler alert.
But I think the plot of the movie is not that good, and so that bothers me. So it's one of those things where I like almost everything about it except for the results. So kind of like Coach Rule and Nebraska football last year a little bit. Not to bring everything back around, but so yeah, if you end up with if you end up with weird musical stuff on your Netflix, that's on me. I'm gonna take the L on that one.
Right. I know. God, he was amazing. When Omaha Ryan said, I've been replaced as the dog sitter. That hurts. No, I was supposed to ask him, but it's just too far from the drive.
Yeah, it's not far from me.
He lives in Bennington, darn near.
Yeah, no, it's 10 minutes, and we're both right on the interstate, so it's easy peasy.
Yeah, it's funny how he came up because when we were gonna have I had too many places for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
I was supposed to call him, and I said no, it's too far. And then she's like, "Well, what about Ravi?" And I was like, "He's weird."
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah, it's just I don't know if that's the only just stuck on our words or our people or the only two things that I don't know.
Maybe we're the only two friends that she likes.
Yeah, but sometimes I think Ryan likes me. Well, yeah, that's right. No, both you two are the same.
That she likes.
No, I think that's why because I would guess she doesn't think either one of you two really like me either. I see an occurring theme here between the three of you.
I talk to you more than any person alive. I have to like you a certain amount.
Well, she definitely doesn't like me. She tolerates me. So maybe you guys all have that.
Celebrated, not tolerated?
Yes. God, there were some tremendous one-liners.
Yeah.
He had a doozy.
Yeah. Is it one you can repeat on the air?
He didn't. Well, the basic theme was family, and the difference between finding a home to come to school and being with family. He held court for. He cut himself off. He 15 minutes. He was just basically in between the player panel and the nutrition, and the player panel was. I'm a big player panel guy. Right. That was one of the things that I thought I did really. There's just a couple of schools where I appreciate the players' honesty because it gives you. Because I know, right? Like I've been through this. Like you get a feel for what college is like once you get here, and so there were just a couple of schools that were really really good with their player panels because there's no coaches in there, so it's parents and players, and it's fire away.
Yeah.
It was this was the best one I've seen. And the three you'll never guess. So I'm just gonna tell you. Yeah. It was Kanak. Okay. He fantastic. Big deep voice. Wants to get into parks and sciences, ecosystems, studying climate control.
Like it. Okay, cool.
I mean, Utah guy, so they kind of go figure.
Probably climate change. Climate control is more like HVAC.
Yeah, that too.
It's a different,
Shane, he's off to a rough start this morning. Are we sure we're going to make it?
It's a different field. That's all.
Maybe.
Well.
Really got to be careful on what I say about that. So.
Vincent Carroll Jackson.
Okay.
And my new favorite, James Williams.
Okay. We love James Williams.
No, you have no idea.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, I mean, like as a fan base, we got enamored with him last year at the end of the year.
If you knew he's incredible.
Yeah.
He cussed 60 seconds in. No, 16 seconds in. While eating on stage.
Yeah.
Only one. It's totally unprofessional. But by the time you're done, it's like, doesn't matter. Eat some more.
Yeah. Listen, he's got to stay on his meal schedule. Otherwise, Kristen's going to get mad at him.
He was incredible.
Yeah.
But Vincent Carroll Jackson almost got the room to tears.
Really?
Awkward pause of silence.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's fantastic. But James Williams, we're team James Williams.
We like
he is an incredible story.
Listen,
they literally found him.
You have to be wired a certain way.
And he is that.
To go through, the path that he's gone through and to be one of the guys that they pluck out of obscurity.
Yeah.
Right?
And you know what? It takes some courage because
you
just don't know what's going to be said.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Well, and you don't know what's going to be said. And it also takes some courage if you're like, let's say you're James.
Do you know what his opening line was?
What's that?
What the bleep do you bleepers want to know that they don't tell you when they're recruiting you? Because I'll tell you. Get us like
here we go.
Giddy up.
Here we go. You gotta like that though, right?
Kinda.
I mean,
I don't. It's not my style.
Yeah.
But I love the authenticity.
Well, that's what I mean. I know that you probably would use some different, like more radio friendly words.
Yeah.
In your speech, but you have to appreciate the fact that you get a much more accurate. And not that I think Coach Rule and staff do as best as they can to tell you what it's really like.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Because that's how you get people not to leave. Yeah. Right.
I got peel back the curd, man. Fire away. There's a lot in there.
We will get back to DB's time in Lincoln this weekend. Nebraska got a commitment, not out of the weekend, but from another guy that was here a couple weeks ago over.
Thank the Lord.
That definitely nobody knew about ahead of time. That's DB. I'm Ravi. Lulla. We will be back here on AM 590 ESPN Radio, ESPN Tri-Cities here on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Good morning. We're back on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage. On a Monday morning, if you want to give us a call, 888-638-4876. We got a lot going on today.
Should we just open up the phone? Where we just taking? What's the weather going to be like today?
Anything that you listen. You want to talk about TJ Lateef? You want to talk about official visitors that were down there this weekend? You know, Caleb wasn't hanging out by himself. I know that.
No, I was just reading through the write-up that he did with
BC, and
it's sad that you have to tell me that he talked to BC, but I guess we're to the point now where I don't really have anything to do with that.
Yeah,
but one of my favorite lines, he was talking about Coach Cooper. He said, "That's my guy for sure. We're both very competitive." Nah, you don't say. But this one, that's my guy for sure. Benning said, we're both very competitive. We both know how to take and deal out tough love.
Yeah.
Is he talking about us?
Maybe.
What do you mean, tough love?
Well,
do I seem like a tough lover?
Well, maybe. No, it was a big weekend down there in Nebraska. He obviously had Caleb, who's already, he's moving in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then, You had David Sanders,
Yes.
who was a super duper 5-star, whatever they're calling him now.
Yeah.
Number 2 prospect in the country, number 1, depending on who you ask. And then you had edge rusher and
Nick Taylor
and another offensive tackle
Scholl.
in Scholl. That
we apparently had played against Scholl on the ETG circuit or ETG on the AAU circuit.
Oh yeah, for hoops,
because he's a hooper too.
Yeah.
It's just tough. Like he's got a great. I really got a chance to talk. So my 2 favorite people over the weekend are Sanders' grandpa, who was amazing. He gave me like 3 hugs. The last one was like really long.
Yeah.
And it meant kind of a lot because by Sunday morning he like had on a sport coat and a polo, and he has real pretty hair. Like it's like a beautiful head of gray hair.
Yeah.
And I told him it reminded me of, my dad down the stretch. He paused. He gave me a hug. He said, I think you're okay. I said, this, I swear to goodness, this is exactly how I went. I said, I think you are too. I didn't have anything else better to say. It was just what I felt. So it's just like this awkward moment. I was like, he's gonna think I'm a total soft batch of cookies. Like,
you got this emotional, touching moment, and you're like, me too.
I was caught off guard because his presence is one of power.
Do you want all Forrest Gump on him?
It's just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No,
some people have like a gravitas, right? Like they've got
and that was in the moment, man. Just me and all my glory. Nah, it was cool though. But Scholl, so they're split because they're back in Independence or Joplin, just right by Joplin, where she's still going to school. He is with him in Tulsa so he can play football.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So he's like, hey, when December's up, I'm going back home. Like, I want to be with my family.
Yeah.
So it's like he's definitely wherever he decides to go. Scholl is enrolling in December.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
He's a big, strong kid.
Yeah, it's an interesting group, a good group of kids.
And then in typical Nebraska fashion, Nicholas Clayton, I think I said Taylor, Clayton gets the offer from FSU the minute he gets back home.
Yeah, Nebraska seems to be.
He went from unranked to 2 Power 5 offers in like 3 days. I'm like, he has exceptional film.
Yeah, I think Nebraska is one of those schools that once they offer, people kind of pay a little bit more attention, which is a great reputation to have.
And I'm so, of course, I'm selfish when it comes to Nebraska.
Yeah.
Selfish.
I barely know him. I got in over breakfast because his girlfriend likes Frenchies, so she showed me a picture at the breakfast table.
Yeah,
I was like, ooh, I don't know if you're gonna end up being with her or not. I hope so, but she does like Frenchies, so you got a chance.
It's a good sign.
So then that broke the ice.
Yeah.
By the end, I was like, hey, I know this is gonna sound like, well, duh, because I obviously work for Nebraska or with Nebraska. But
I mean, with the radio station we're for Nebraska,
with your frame, this would be the perfect place for you. I mean, did you see the nutrition layout?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, they'll have it down, and he's probably looking at me like, this dude is crazy. He's a psycho. But he was a super kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, he's kind of built like a drinking straw. But he's got super long levers, good bend. He's right down there in Florida too, and we're like, do you guys recruit?
Do you guys pay attention down here?
Well, he's everything that's wrong with recruiting services, though.
How so?
Because there's lots of those guys.
Yeah,
you just can't get everywhere, and you can't always pay attention to what people tell you because you can't. It's just impossible to find everybody.
Well, and so I guess when you say it's what's wrong with recruiting services, they find more guys than they used to.
Yeah.
Right. Or more guys than used to be found before recruiting services.
By that I mean
but they're not complete.
Yeah, and you get guys on these rating systems and we regurgitate it like we even know anything about what it means, like 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, whatever. And there are guys like that are as good as a lot of guys that I've seen. And he's not going to have any ranking. So what's going to happen to him is he's the Nebraska way, right? They find guys early, and then everybody else will recruit the heck out of them.
Mhm.
And he's going to get these rankings, and people are going to say it was just because. No, it's not just because. It is just be like, we missed. Not a lot of attention wasn't on our radar. He'll validate the offers. The offers won't validate him.
Yeah.
But we tend to look at it like that.
Well,
Like,
because we don't know what else to look at.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. That's
What I'm saying.
And I will say the committable, non-committable offer thing has made this whole thing a mess.
Yeah. That is a real thing, though. But I get why people discern, like, pick at it.
Yeah. For somebody looking from the outside, who's like most of us aren't going out there and breaking down game tape or anything like that. So the best we can do, which I think is a step better than looking at the star ratings, is be like, okay, who wants them, right? If I see a 3-star guy, because I go back to, it was like, I think Amir, right? 3-star guy, didn't really have any big offers. And then late, some teams jumped on him. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, right? Or Brandon Jackson, the Callahan back.
I like B-Jax.
I did too, a lot. And he was just a kind of run-of-the-mill 3-star, whatever. But he had a couple offers. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I don't remember if it was like Mississippi State or I don't remember who it was. But somebody down in the SEC that was kind of his neck of the woods. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. He's got other Power 5 offers. That's a good sign, right? But now with committable, non-committable, like whatever offers, it's really hard to make heads or tails out of, like TJ Lateef, for instance, right? Just committed to Nebraska this weekend. And we look at him, we go, okay, he's got offers from Arizona State, Colorado. A ton of really good offers. And you look at Florida State, Georgia, Miami.
He's from just outside Rancho, right?
Yeah, he's in Southern California.
Okay.
He's got Ole Miss, which, like, okay, if you get an offer from Lane Kiffin as a quarterback, like, that's a really good sign. But then I look at these and I go, well, I don't know how many of these are real, right? And so I go and look at the tape and I see what I can see, but you're also looking at highlight tapes, right? And so, yeah, you're going to like what you see on a highlight tape.
So he just happened to be down there during the spring game weekend.
I think that was his OV, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I got a chance to see him kind of up close and personal. That size is probably right.
The 6'2"?
I would say 6'1" and some change. I probably wouldn't fight over 6'2", probably 180-ish.
Yeah, and that's where 24/7 has him at.
And I think that's accurate.
Yeah, so they've got him at 6'1.5", 185.
And wow, good on me. You almost got me with the 6'2".
Well, I was
kind of leading.
I saw 6'2" somewhere else.
But I didn't take the bait.
I saw 6'2" somewhere else.
How you like them apples?
I like apples.
Apples never fall far. It's a good show, by the way.
I don't know that show.
I think it was Peacock, maybe.
How about them
His family
apples?
used to run a tennis academy, and then they sold it.
And
his wife disappeared.
Yeah, okay.
Good show.
Yeah,
I binged it.
Probably not gonna watch that. I mean, you got disappearing people, man. I don't need that darkness in my life. I don't need that darkness hanging over me.
Again,
It's
if
probably
they wouldn't have
not
brought me
scary.
club soda out of a bottle, I would make fun of you, but I'm not because I have to own that.
Topo Chico. I'm just saying, I'm not drinking.
I thought it was a drink.
No. It's a water.
Yeah. Isn't there a Topo Chico that's an alcohol, though?
There's something that sounds like Topo Chico. I don't think it's called that, but there is something that sounds like that is an alcohol.
Yeah.
Uh,
the Lateef thing, and
we'll talk
all
Lateef.
recruiting and all
Yeah.
that, but I like the offer quite a bit. Gives you a blueprint of the plan, too.
We've got more non-alcoholic White Claw talk coming up here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities.
We will be back. We will be back. will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Wrapping up hour number one here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage. And I'm reminding you, you've got a couple days left to go get your tickets from provolleyball.com for the first ever Pro Volleyball Federation Championship right here in Omaha, Nebraska. Coming up on Wednesday, your Omaha Supernovas will wrap up a day filled with volleyball at 8:30 p.m. at CHI Health Center against the San Diego Mojo in the semifinals of the PVF Championship. But you can get all session tickets, so you can see all the games that day and the championship on Saturday, or you can buy individual season tickets over at provolleyball.com. Make sure you are a part of this historic event here in Nebraska, a professional champion being crowned right here in your very own city. Show that pride, show people how we do here in Omaha when you bring big events to town.
This is how we do it.
Exactly. Provolleyball.com.
I know they let Grand Rapids rally last night, but did you watch them on television?
Yeah.
It's a nice little crowd.
Yeah. Grand Rapids does okay. It does pretty good. Columbus does pretty good.
They do good with kind of those minor market sports. So they used to have an arena team.
Yeah.
And it was a tough place to play.
There's was it Grand Rapids? Columbus does pretty good with their crowd support. Obviously, Omaha does really well. But some of those, you're right. Some of the, I guess, less mainstream sports, right? Although volleyball is quickly becoming pretty mainstream in
on the professional circuit. Certainly,
yes,
it's new.
It's new on the professional circuit, but yeah, like there's these sort of markets. Like Sioux Falls is always a really good like arena football town.
Oh yeah.
They used to
House of Horrors.
Man, they used to play they had the longest winning streak in professional sports for a long time.
They were so good.
And Omaha actually broke it. The Beef broke. Do you remember James McNair?
Yeah.
That dude was
Aaron McNair.
Man, he was nice.
He was Aaron McNair before we actually knew Steve could throw the ball at Alcorn State. No, I'm just kidding. I like McNair because he was resilient.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't always pretty sometimes. He had those itty bitty thin legs.
He
became a fan favorite.
He was built like a string.
Yeah.
That dude was so skinny.
He had some rails.
But he was real good. I think he was like a D3 guy that came out. And but yeah.
Did I tell you about when I used to play against Buffalo Bill? Fred Jackson? Yeah.
Was he in arena?
Yeah.
Nice.
With the Sioux City Bandits.
Oh, I remember the Bandits.
He was unbelievable.
Well, I would imagine, yeah.
Like, and he's like, yeah, I went to Co. I was like, huh?
I'm sorry, come again?
But that's where I learned to figure out where a lot of these other schools were around, because you'd meet these guys and
like really good players from small schools or whatever.
Yep. And just turned out to be like pretty good players. He was a trivia thing on TikTok, and I was like, oh, I know that.
Go College,
I know
baby.
where he's from. Right down the road.
I've got a big affinity.
Real good player. Played at Simpson. Played DB for us in the Arena League.
Simpson in Iowa?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah. We got a couple transfers from there.
Yeah. Frenchie was his name.
Yeah.
I think it was Frenchie Buckner.
Okay.
Pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always have an affinity for the Beef. We love the Beef.
Yeah, you and me both.
They're a good time.
So, do you know like the old school mainstays, like the fans, like Mad Cow and
the Rump Roasters?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So his daughter teaches at Westside.
Oh gosh.
They live by my mom.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's the first.
I'm like, wait a minute, that's your dad?
That's hilarious.
Oh my gosh, he's nuts.
Oh yeah.
But it's
perfect.
It's totally her behavior too. She teaches art too, so she's
that makes sense.
Left brain people.
Got to watch out for those creatives. Get a little squirrely.
Her daughter is like besties with Zoe.
Really?
And Sawyer, her brother, is. I like a lot of little kids. He may be my fave.
Yeah.
Oh, just a tough little meathead. He likes to wrestle. And, he's really good.
Yeah.
And highly, highly competitive. Wants my job. So we should let him co-host. Seriously.
Sawyer?
Yeah. He is extremely bright. So after the game, one of those games where I would throw him passes at Westside, like just long passes, and everybody'd be running around like that little. I don't know if you remember like his face, but that's Sawyer.
Okay. Yeah. I know. I remember you throwing passes to somebody. I don't remember who it was.
Yeah.
I don't pay attention.
What kind of throw was that? Hey, man.
You need me out there throwing dimes to him?
Yeah, dropping like Latif.
Yeah, exactly. Like our guy TJ Latif. So you met him in
Lincoln
spring game with the visit. What were your takeaways?
So I liked his I liked his aura, I guess I would say,
demeanor.
like his kind of just very reserved.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's not long enough for me to like say that I like no.
Yeah. Unequivocally good person or whatever. Yeah.
But there's definitely a style. There's definitely a type of person that they're recruiting. Without like, we were talking early at breakfast on Saturday, and we were walking around the farmers market and stuff, and when they were talking about types of players and quality of guys and level of competitiveness, there's a reoccurring theme. And it's not so much that you're not doing the glitz and glamour of 4 and 5 stars, but there is because these types of personalities can be had in players like that.
And to be clear, these are 4 and 5 stars that we're talking about.
It's just like when you look at like locally, like a Tyson Terry, like there's a certain mindset. When you look at a guy like Donovan Jones, there's a certain mindset. You look at a Roger Gradney. It's very, very important to them to find people where being competitiveness, being competitive,
Mhm.
is at a premium. Like that almost may be the first kind of thing that they look at.
Yeah.
Is how can we gauge how competitive you are?
Well, and because if you're not competitive, right, you can be as talented as anybody in the world. Being competitive is usually what gets people to reach that.
Yeah.
Right. Like you.
Like Barney, right? A lot of guys said what he wasn't. You know what they liked? Sure, he's fast. He's competitive.
Yeah.
He's
He
extreme.
wants the ball. He
Yeah.
wants to.
Jalen Lloyd is extremely competitive.
Yes. Because there's a lot of track guys that don't translate to football because either they just want to go out and run straight and run fast and, hey, throw me the ball or whatever. Jalen Lloyd wants to be a wide receiver. He
Yeah.
wants to be a good wide receiver. And you can already see him taking those steps. But that's the difference to me between a talented guy and a talented guy that reaches his potential is competitiveness.
Yeah. And Latif kind of gives you a blueprint for what they want,
Mhm.
right? Get you in the system, work with our guys. Hey, if you can contribute right away, we'll sprinkle that in. But what we really want to do is build for the future.
Yeah,
we
develop
want
you.
We want to stockpile.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's what they want to do. You know, they have you kind of get a range and of what the blueprint is, because we get into things other than just diehard X's and O's,
Mhm.
right? So you get like philosophy and this, that, and the other, and they know, like they'll say, "Hey, watch player X. In
Mhm.
2 years, you're going to see." I like to hear stuff like that.
Mhm.
Or, hey, maybe not 60 snaps, but for right now, this guy with like 30, if we can get him to maximize, that's what we need situationally. Like that's how detailed it is.
Mhm.
This isn't like, oh, hey, I know we've got 130 bodies. I just hope some of these guys shake it. They're very specific with where their
It's
guys are
intentional.
on their.
Yeah.
Hey, while he's getting ready, we're going to have to ride this guy for a little bit, but
Mhm.
maybe by then it will be this. Like,
Well, look at their transfer classes the first 2 years, right? First year brought in a bunch of dudes.
Yeah.
Right? Second year, not nearly as many guys. And you look at, okay, so the first year, I kind of take it as, all right, hey, we needed some stopgaps. We needed to get some guys in while we got everyone else up to speed. And you've heard Rule talk about it. Like, yeah, they're going to be selective in the portal. Not that they're not going to use it, but I think it's going to be one of those things where as long as they don't need stopgaps or short-term fixes or things like that to allow this process to play out, maybe somebody doesn't develop quite at the rate they want to or whatever, that's when you go and make, hey, we probably need a portal guy to bridge the gap here.
Mm.
But I think you're going to continue to see that based on what you just talked about with the, okay, in 2 years, this guy's going to be ready. Until then, we need this guy to bear the heavy load. Like, that's why Ty and Nash coming back for next year is so important. Because it buys you that extra year. You don't have to go try and find linemen in the portal, which is darn near impossible to do.
You know what they gravitate towards?
What's that?
I don't say that. I like my term for this is doesn't need a babysitter.
Yeah, low maintenance.
That's their thing.
Yep. Well, I mean, it's what Caleb said in his article to BC.
Low maintenance.
He goes, hey, I appreciate that they like low maintenance guys. I'm a low maintenance guy. I don't know if you'd agree that Caleb's
no, he's
low maintenance.
extremely low maintenance.
Yeah. So, like, don't need your handheld. Don't need a babysitter. Self-sufficient is the term I like to use. And that's not that you don't ever need help, but when then you are guided towards help, you're good to go.
Yeah, somebody asked him about his living situation, and number one, he was hoping to not be in a room with 3. He wants to try to keep it to 2.
Yeah, for sure.
And so they're messing with him. They're like, well, who are you going to roll with? And he's like, he goes, I'm rolling with Donovan Jones. He said, if Tyson was our year, he would probably be the 3rd.
Yeah.
But, and I think it was Dvorak messing with him about their temperaments.
Mm-hmm.
And, Caleb was like, and bless his heart, he was the thing that he liked about why he wants to be with Donovan, because they think the same.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that they play the same position.
Yeah.
Like people look at that and they're like,
DBs from Omaha hanging out together.
But that's not what it is.
It's temperament.
Yep. And what does he always talk about? Well, their family, low maintenance, tough, competitive, like the staff. It's just weird. They must have said that term in all their talks, low maintenance, 100 times.
Maybe that's why I vibe with them, because I'm all about that.
Yeah,
low
you do
maintenance
hate
life.
high maintenance.
Coming up next, we will get to Sam McKewon from the Omaha World-Herald.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back.
To this day.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio. Here is the sports editor for the Omaha World-Herald, Sam McKewon.
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
Sam McKewon.
We're gonna throw the ball, and you just stand back there and throw it where you want to go. That kind of thing.
Sam McKewon.
Are you guys going? Sure.
Now, Sam McKewon.
Kicking off hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage. And joining us on the Hurrdat Hotline is Sam McKewon from the Omaha World-Herald. Sam, what's going on?
Not much. Rainy morning, but otherwise it's pretty good.
Here's my forecast. Did you bring this back with you, or so did you get away, or just a little downtime last week?
No, I didn't get away.
Okay, just peace of mind.
Take another one of those. Yeah, I'll probably take another one of them. No, there just wasn't. There's not a lot to say last week. Now we got a little recruiting to talk and a few other things. I figured that TJ Lateef would commit on Mother's Day. I'll be very honest with you. That was my anticipation.
It's pretty cool. Like, so him saying it's been a while, and again, I'm not to be super premature, but the stockpiling of talent at the quarterback spot is sometimes frowned upon. And we always say, well, the good ones can do it. They can do it at this school and that school. And I don't know. TJ Lateef still got one more year of high school, but can you at least see the vision for what they want to do in terms of development and accruing talent at the quarterback spot?
Yeah, I think they probably want an opportunity where they can bring in a guy and then a guy can redshirt, that being Lateef. But then they'll bring in another guy after that, and they'll continue to have a robust competition for 2 and 3. And that's probably how it'll progress. Most of the best teams in the country really only have 2 top flight quarterbacks. I guess Ohio State's the outlier. I don't know. I guess they have 5. I don't really know what Ohio State's doing, or why those kids are all staying, but apparently they did. But like outside of that, most schools are not doing that. And so usually you have 2 or 3. And then, what you hope is that you have a supplemental backup who's either a premium walk-on or a scholarship guy that's willing to stick around and wait for his turn. Kind of like the kid at USC did. The kid at USC waited his turn. And, and he's a top 100 recruit, but, he waited his turn and now he's going to get it. So, you kind of hope that that's what you're able to set up. I think Lateef's a good player. I really do. I think he's got, at least on tape, you never know until you actually see him play in the games in college, how they're going to be. But I would rate him as, outside of Raiola, probably the best quarterback recruit they've had in some time. I mean, he's got a lot of ability.
Sam, as you watch some of that tape, is there a comparison, or obviously, you're making projections here, but just playing style, anybody he reminds you of?
Well, like you have to take into account health and all the other things, but his height, he's listed at 6'2". I don't think that's what he is, and that's fine. Yeah, I mean, I think there's some, he's a little bit shorter. I was thinking of, the quarterback that was at Purdue that came from Texas that was pretty good. He maybe him, not Drew Brees. The other guy, David, I can't remember his last name, but he torched Nebraska a couple of times. But he's got kind of a motion, kind of a loopy motion, a little bit of Bryce Young in there. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of things to like. I mean, he's quick decision maker, on tape anyway, and he throws some of the hard passes well, right? So, it's not easy to throw what they call a slot fade or a box fade or whatever you want to call it. He throws that really well. He throws a good deep out. Again, there's some really good stuff on tape. He's not Raiola, but, he's playing in a really good league. So, like, he's playing good competition, honestly, better competition than Raiola played until Raiola's final year. So, I think there's a lot to like there.
When you're taking a look at, we're a year and a half, 2 years in almost, can you get a sense, or do you feel like you have a good sense of the demeanors or type of personalities they're looking for? If I was going to, after this weekend, I think if there was one recommendation I would tell players that are being recruited at the high school level by these guys is be low maintenance, right? Like, even how they operate as adults, as a staff, is low maintenance, right? So you could see why they would easily want that in their players as well.
Yeah, so I absolutely, for sure. I think they're probably looking for low maintenance, and if you can get that in a 5-star, great. And I actually think Dylan Raiola is low maintenance.
He's a very low maintenance.
Yeah, I think he's basically the opposite of a Spencer Rattler. You know, he's not out there looking for a ton of attention. I don't think he's ever been the kind of guy to spend a lot of time looking at his press clippings. I think that's probably the way he was raised. And you know, and this is one good thing about him staying kind of out of those prep monster schools, which he did, other than Buford, I guess, is, you know, you're not on ESPN all the time. I mean, you go to Gorman and you kind of know what you're getting, you know, and so like he could have gone there, but he didn't. And so, you know, I think, yeah, low maintenance is helpful. I think one thing that you get when you recruit guys that maybe are a little under the radar, which isn't Crayola, but many of the players that they've recruited, is there isn't a sense of entitlement because you've been kind of grinding away, and you know you're thinking you're going to get one kind of scholarship offer to, let's say, you know, an FCS school like SDSU, and all of a sudden Nebraska comes through, and it's like, you know, you spent the first 16 or 17 years of your young life working towards something, and then you get something that's almost like a golden ticket, and that work ethic's already been instilled. And so, yeah, I think low maintenance is certainly. I mean, isn't that what every team at Nebraska wants? They're, you know, ideally, because Nebraska is not necessarily a state, and Lincoln's not necessarily a town where being high maintenance all the time is gonna work out in favor.
It's just not. They're just so.
It's not that interesting a place. I live here.
You know, it's just interesting because they're so. There's this quiet confidence in their ability to develop. Like you can hear it, you can feel it. And I'm not saying put talent aside, because you obviously have to have some measurables for them to start with. But I think we're telling the story wrong. And I get it. It's what they say. They're like, well, he has this statistical data. He ran this, he jumped this, so therefore this. And I get it, right? Because they kind of push that out. But if I were going to rewrite the narrative, I would start with being competitive, and I would start with being low maintenance, because they're so supremely confident in their development. They don't really worry about whether if we see what they see. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, they're good. I think if they could, two people that they should take on their recruiting visits are, you know, and they're out on town yesterday, are Corey Campbell and Coggins. Like if they could take those two on the road and show them data about how to build players based on certain measurables, it'd be almost foolproof. Like I think they think they're that good. Like they just want to say, just listen to us. We got the rest. Just listen.
Yeah, we're gonna find out. I mean, we are. We're gonna find out if that's accurate. And I mean that in a good way, because they've got a number of players who you would put in the just trust us category. And interestingly enough, they're not offensive linemen. They're recruiting almost nothing but blue chips.
He's
on the offensive line.
Donovan may be the best kept secret on that staff. Sam,
yeah,
I'm telling you,
a good recruiter.
He's amazing. He's amazing, especially given his personality, like his outwardly demeanor. He is incredible.
Yeah. And so they're at that position. They're really not doing. I mean, of course, you want to develop them, but there hasn't been a recruit. Maybe Jake Peters, the center that's coming in from Cedar Falls, but outside of that, all the guys that he's recruited are dudes. I mean, and including all the in-state kids. Those are all really good players. So, you know, like that position is the case. And honestly, it's not quarterback either. I mean, Danny and Dylan and now the TJ, they're all pretty high-level players. But you can see at some of the other positions, the defensive back and wide receivers, you know, they're taking some developmental pieces. I think you're going to see that a little bit on the defensive line, which is almost by necessity anymore, because it's really hard to get the best defensive linemen. It's almost impossible. I mean, they're in such a demand and such a premium that you really do need to find bodies that you can then develop, and I think they're doing that. And then at some of the other positions too. So definitely they're going to be a developmental program. You know, Sean Padden said last week, the way he put it, I kind of like the way he put it. He's like, what we want is continuity, because we want a cohort of players to go through it together. and that there's just a different group every single year that kind of goes through it together. And, you know, I would say even if you had a cohort every 2 years, because sometimes that stuff sorts in a little bit differently. If you had a group of just really strong leaders every 2 years, I think you've got enough to bridge the gap and become a consistent program, which is what they want. They don't just want to win 1 year. They want to win over the course of 5. And I do think that, you know, Rule has made a commitment to stay at Nebraska long enough to see that through. So I don't think it's going to be a 3-year thing like it was at Baylor. He's seen the other side of the NFL, and I don't know that that's something he really wants to go back to right away.
We're talking with Sam McKewon from the Omaha World-Herald. Sam, so DB talked about the confidence it takes from the coaching staff to go out and get these guys that nobody else is really caring about or talking about. You kind of talked about how it can kind of be like a golden ticket moment for a guy that's mostly only got FCS offers. It seems like the competitiveness that DB talked about is sort of the thing that would, because when I hear golden ticket, I think, oh, maybe they think they've reached their destination, right? The thing that fights against that is that the competitiveness where that comes in, where you're like, okay, now that I've gotten to this place, now I need to show I belong.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of both. You just honestly, you gotta find that out based on the athletes that you recruit. But I would say that like some of the best transfers in the portal are players who are in FCS, because a lot of times those guys, they had to work for everything, and where they play, there's a handful of schools where the kids are treated like super well, but a lot of these schools, like where Bly Hill came from, I mean, they only got so many resources.
Right.
So he had to kind of do it himself, you know, and so a lot of these kids, they develop, they have a self motivation tool, because if they didn't, they wouldn't make it. And same thing with JUCO. You know, Levante David is probably emerged as the best overall player in the last 15 years. And, you know, and Ndamukong Suh is the other one. Those are the two. And Levante, you know, I remember stories about what it was like for him at Fort Scott. I mean, you know, you either want to get out of there or you don't. And to get out of there means that you're willing to put everything on the line. And he did, you know, and so you're always looking for players who had to kind of do it the hard way and kind of had to work for it. But then what you see is, oh, well, they have all the talent that you want too, you know, and so they had to kind of figure it out kind of the hard way. And so, you know, I think that's what you're looking for in athletes, is just that self-made component, the willingness to work. Doesn't mean that 5-star players aren't willing to work. Obviously, a lot of them are. That's how they became where they're at. Simultaneously, you know, I think, and this is more true in basketball, you can get a kid that's been in travel ball for like 8 years, and he's just kind of accustomed to being the guy. And then he gets to college, let's say he's a KU or whatever, and he's not the guy, and he doesn't like that. He says, well, wait a minute, I was the guy for 8 years. And so you've got to get athletes that also are understand that they're going to have to step everything up in order to be, you know, the guy at the collegiate level. That's how much harder college football is. And then, of course, the NFL is even harder. And it's very hard, obviously, to play in the pros.
You know what's funny about you saying that is, talking to Scholl's dad, we kind of hit it off, and we were talking about, he recognized me from playing against each other in the summer, the boys playing against each other in basketball. And, you know, he was talking about the different cultural environments from football to playing AAU, and how he felt like he got the best of both worlds, because it was competitive and high profile in one sport, that would be basketball, right? Being the guy. But then he could go back to the grimy grinder, having to go through it, like when he moved to play football in Tulsa too, which he felt like would kind of help him for whatever the future would hold, because it hadn't always been easy for him, you know? So I think just to kind of be a little testament to what you're saying, there's some actual truth to that with some hard data.
Yeah, it's important. And of course, in football, it's almost impossible to be good without being tough. I do think it's possible in basketball, all the way up to the NBA. You can be so skilled that it's just, you know, you don't have to find that extra gear of, I don't know what the right word is, just total grit. If you're just unbelievably better than everybody else. But in football, that's almost impossible. Everybody gets hit, everybody gets hurt, and so I think there's a certain component that you want to have, and Matt Rule is a big believer in this sort of core toughness. He's talked about deep down we want to be the boxer that cuts off the ring and gets in a scrum and wins in the fourth quarter. And in order to be that kind of program, and I think that's laudable. In order to be that kind of program, you can't just be tough for a half. You have to be sort of tough over 4 quarters. And I think they probably learned some things about themselves last year and about the program, and maybe what they need going forward. That there's a mental toughness component that comes into play too. And there were a couple of times I thought late last year, although not against Wisconsin, I thought Nebraska played very hard and very tough against what I thought was actually at the end of the year pretty good Wisconsin team. But there were moments late last season where it felt like, the stuff that used to get them during the Frost era creeps back in. And that those are the things that they've got to try to find a way to eradicate going into year 2.
Just listening to you, I think, and when I compare them to previous staffs and the team's temperament, they have no choice. Like you have no choice really, but to pick up on the personality and the culture that they're building. It is definitely one of toughness. It's a head coach that seems to like to thrive, and it's not like he's choosing chaos, but he's not running from it either. His wife is tough. His staff is tough. He doesn't like anything given or easy. So it has to trickle down to the players or you can't function because it's not an act. I mean, he's not mean-spirited. He's kind of a mean, edgy East Coast guy. Like you're around him long enough and it just comes out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think there's a competitive component to him that, I think it comes in a more loquacious and friendly package than Bo Pelini, but there's edginess there that's similar.
I think that's why Bo's guys gravitate towards it. I do.
Yeah.
Like I think that was the closest they felt like because they like him quite a bit.
Sam, is it putting too fine a point on it to say the difference between Bo and Coach Rule is that Coach Rule understands the other half of the job, where like Bo had the part with his players and the competitiveness and the edginess, and it seems like Rule has that as well, but he also understands the other half of the job, which is the public-facing part of the job.
Yeah, I mean, I think, sure, yes. I think externally it bears out that way. I think the differences between them are internal. It's probably the way they kind of look at the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I don't mean this is really a knock on Bo. Bo just saw enemies everywhere, and that I don't think Rule does. I think Rule's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, especially after Carolina, which he's been kind of proven right about that situation based on what happened after he got fired.
Oh yeah.
That's a dumpster fire.
I think there's a motivation there. I think but no, Bo saw. Bo could wheel around on anybody.
He was chasing ghosts a lot of the time.
Yeah, like everybody was an enemy. So eventually, and I don't know that that's true with Rule. I think he's a little less like that, a little less apocalyptic. So, but I think they have similarities for sure they do. In terms of the way that they want to play and the desire to play with edge and the desire to relate to the guys. And this is one of Bo's strengths, even if we didn't always love it as the media. One of his strengths is he could get on the level of a student athlete, and he could kind of joke with them and be on their level as a guy.
Yeah, totally.
And he knew how to tap into that, and I think Rule does too.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying that Mike Riley didn't. I loved Mike, but I think he had gotten to the point where the way he was doing it in Oregon had to be done specifically in the place where he was at. And once he moved to a different environment where he hadn't been there for 30 some years, it was very hard. And then Scott, I don't know. I mean, there's lots of different things there, but it did feel like, I'll never forget Matt Masker basically expressing sympathy for his head coach, and you never want that. That's just not where you want your players to be as it relates to their coach. And so I think Rhule's done a pretty good job over the years of being able to relate to his players, and also, he's got their back.
He's just not going to provoke victimhood, right? Like he
Right.
can understand that, but that's just not who he's ever going to
right.
be.
Yeah. Great way to put it. Yeah. There's no woe is me. So
I don't.
the culture is good, I think.
I just don't think he's capable.
Right.
It's just, you listen to him like growing up, or neighborhoods, or what he's been through, or just his level of he's just real because he's been through it, but he doesn't he doesn't use that as like, well, he just tells the story and he moves on to what's next. Like it's almost uncanny how he can just say something and move on to the next thing, and it totally leaves you hanging like, wait, he just slid that in and went on to the next thing, when most people would like, let me go back and explain that, or you know what I mean? Like he just he just doesn't do that.
No, I understand what you mean. And a lot of coaches, I mean, not everybody in this world is an extrovert, and I do think Rhule is, whether he wants to say is or not, he is. A lot of coaches are introverts, and so they're just not, they can be great coaches and not be that person anyway. They're just not necessarily a natural raconteur, and he is. But I think over time, the culture is going to be there, and the conversation is going to be there. He's, in a lot of ways, he's like an old school coach. I think a lot of old school coaches will like this. It's going to come down to, the players though, and how they execute, how they play, and whether they can, because this is a good league. I keep trying to tell people that.
It is. It's a lot of good football.
It off, and, oh my God, like Purdue was easily the best 4-8 team in the country last year, and I know we say, we jokingly said that about Nebraska a couple years ago, but that team's got players, and Illinois' got players, and like these teams are the what do you call it? The parity is really high. And I'm not trying to say the SEC isn't great too. It is, but man, those two leagues are so far ahead of the other leagues, and so this is hard stuff. If we were in the Big 12, I'd say Nebraska's going to be a 10-win team, but we're not, and it's way tougher than people appreciate. When you go to every single game and you watch them all, and you do that, you see the guys on the other side of the field, and then you see who transfers out and where they go to school. And you're like, yeah, the players in this league are really good. And everybody has money at this point. Rutgers has money. Purdue has money. Everybody's got. Nebraska's a little bit better in some areas, but everybody's got cool stuff now. So the development is pretty high, too. It's going to be a hard task, but I do think that Rhule is the person that's up to that challenge.
That's Sam McKewon from the Omaha World-Herald. Sam, we appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Sam.
Take care.
We will be back. We will be back.
His average coming into today, 52 RBI.
Long run for Spur. He's not going to get to it. A pair of Blue Jays are going to score on a bloop 2-run single.
and he gets it down. Situation. He is squaring, and he gets it down. Van Emmen with one play to first, but Delana couldn't squeeze it, and then the ball goes into foul territory. Brian Padilla then throws it into left field, and Ben North is going to come home to score. Tarosian to second base. He got tangled with Padilla at first base, then got back up and on his way to second. He gets there safely. Situation. He is squaring, and he gets.
He can just flip it out there, but he can also flip it out over the fence as well.
Called strike 3 outside corner. Cristo gets the K and closes it out, and Nebraska wins the series here in Lincoln.
Away, he can just flip it out there, but he can also flip it out over the fence as well.
Called strike 3 outside corner. Cristo gets the K and closes it out, and Nebraska wins the series here in Lincoln.
We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Away, he can just flip it out there, but he can also flip it out over the fence as well.
Called strike 3 outside corner. Cristo gets the K and closes it out, and Nebraska wins the series here in Lincoln.
We're halfway through the show here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage. And I got to remind you about our friends at the Team Jack Foundation. Go to teamjackfoundation.org to find out everything you need to know about getting involved with Team Jack Foundation. You can donate directly on the website. You can check out what events they have coming up, as well as check out all of the projects that they're helping fund with the over $12 million to date that's been raised through the Team Jack Foundation. It's a simple goal, not easy to accomplish. That's why they need your help. It's to get better treatments for childhood brain cancer and one day a cure. Go to teamjackfoundation.org to find out more and to get involved. DB, I have a question for you.
What up?
As we're talking through with Sam there, talking about the types of players Nebraska likes to recruit, you know, the competitiveness, the low maintenance guys, but then publicly all you really hear about is, oh, we liked his measurables. He had X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at this, and do I still have a mic there?
Yeah.
Okay.
You
Sorry.
did get a little lower, but
Yeah,
I
I don't know what
was...
happened. That's okay. We'll figure it out. I'm sitting there and I go, okay, so two things are possible here. And I'm curious what you think is it. Or maybe there's a third possibility I haven't thought of yet. Either there's way more good football players out there or potentially good football players out there than we think.
Okay.
Where you can be that selective in terms of makeup and still have this threshold of measurables that they have to reach. And because they're not finished products, there's just way more of them than people realize. Okay, that's option number one to me. Option number two is those kids are actually incredibly rare. Nebraska's just the only one that wants them.
It's not two.
Okay.
But I do think...
and I'm not talking about like the TJ Latifs and the Dylan Real. I'm talking about the guys with like crazy measurables, like the James Williams.
The Rex Guthries, the Roger Gradneys,
Yes.
the Barneys.
The guys that they love their measurables, but their makeup is perfect for Nebraska, and they're like, we'll teach them how to play football.
Yeah. So, I wouldn't overthink it, but I like the question. You know what I think it is? I think it's people gravitate towards what they like.
Okay.
I think it's pretty much that simple. Like he's changed so much of his staff without us even really being privy to it. And I don't just mean the 10 paid guys, because there's a couple guys that have been changed there too. He gravitates towards competitiveness and the ability to persevere. So there's so many things that happen behind the scenes that they've got to figure out and be able to think quick. And it could be something as simple or complicated as moving stadiums. Not stadiums, moving
sideline size.
No, locker rooms the facility, the football facility. Are you somebody that needs? Are you people that work? Are you people that need like direction or to wait and see the finished product or get everything set up before you can function? Or are you people like, just get it over there? We'll figure it out on the fly. I know it's a busy time. Are you, well, I'm not really sure what to do. I'm just going to wait on you to tell me. There's kind of an MO there where it's, we'll figure it out when we get there. If you're not like that, you could have a hard time functioning.
Sure.
Doesn't mean you're any better or worse of a person. You just typically gravitate towards what you like.
Yeah.
So those are the kinds of people. You got to be able to pull off a camp in short notice. You have to be able to change locations in 2 days. You have to be able to overcome 3 quarterbacks playing. You have to be able to overcome, 4th and 1 or sudden change, or you throw a pick late in the game. All of it is the ability to deal under less than ideal situations. The more you can replicate that across the board, the more accustomed you learn to function when things don't go your way. I think they look for people like that. It's just natural. Coach Coop, undersized, extremely tough. Dvorak, pretty banged up, bad knee injury at Temple. I could go on down. I look at his support staff. Do you think Dr. Elza isn't tough? Like, she's tough. You think, you look at Patton or Kristen, like, you're willing to change the layout and the infrastructure and delay instant gratification to make sure it's the way you wanted it to.
Right.
Some people just can't function like that. Some people are like, oh, just do it. It's fine. It's fine. There is no, it's fine.
Right. Oh, it's just good enough.
It's just they don't even talk like that.
Yeah, good enough isn't good enough.
I don't hear anybody, even in the little things like that. Right? We had breakfast in the new where the players are going to eat, and it's a total work in progress. And it's like, we'll figure it out. We know what we want. There isn't, well, let's just go with it. This is the way it is. You can adjust real time, but know that you're not done yet.
Mm-hmm.
You're not. And everybody's personality probably falls somewhere in it. You ever moved and you know people that don't want to really get in the house until they have everything situated?
Yeah.
Or when they get to a hotel, like everybody has their own
like version of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll come on board with the job when you get this, and this done.
And then there's some people it's like, hey, I'll take the job and I'll get this X, Y,
Yeah,
and Z done.
Right. So it just everybody kind of has that. Everybody kind of has that range. Some people don't even know it. Like when they're looking, like relationship wise, there are people that are looking for finished products.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There are other people that can like see a couple of the things that they
can project.
Yeah. And do that. Some people think, well, they have that, and that. I'll fix the rest.
Yeah.
Like right. So that's how it's just a microcosm of real life. So when they're recruiting, your eye gravitates towards things that you like.
So that's an interesting analogy because I think you're right. I think it's a good example, but I think there's also mistakes that can be made there, right?
100.
Right? Because you mentioned that, I can fix the rest. A lot of times you cannot fix the rest.
Understood.
You have to understand the things that are fixable versus not.
So
right?
What did Severe used to always beat me up over? Every 3 or 4 weeks, I would talk about, Nebraska addressing their weaknesses. And if you just come out and you do this, and he would always say, well, what if your head coach isn't capable of that?
Yeah.
You can want to all you want.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
but even if the head coach is capable of it, what if the player's not? Like, right? Like, what if the player has attributes? And I think that's what we're talking about with the wanting the competitiveness and the low maintenance and things like that, right? Like, I think they've identified the things that they don't think are changeable, and then they look for, if we could change the rest, right? Because if you're not competitive and if you're high maintenance, that's probably not changing.
Yeah, it's just
right.
Right.
I mean, we've all met those people.
They're just some non-negotiables.
Yeah.
Like and there's multiple ways to do it. Like, let's say, like I don't like indecision, right? But I do like for people to be thoughtful. So take your time, figure it out. I'll wait. What I don't like to do is to have you go back and forth.
Sure. Yeah. It's like, I like people that are self-sufficient, but it's okay to ask for help.
Right.
Right. But once you ask for help, I need to not have to hold your hand in executing the help.
That's another good example.
Right.
So I think when they're recruiting and what they're looking for is, there are some certain measurables. I mean, I watched the weight room presentation where it's so layered and tiered with the group. They literally went into how long you've been injured or out of football versus if you're playing on Saturday versus if you are in this range as a first-year guy to this range as a first-year guy, and how many different kinds of groups that they'll put you in.
Yeah.
It was overly it's a lot of detail.
Yeah, like it's very specific.
But they look at it every day. So it's easy for them to just slot that accordingly because it's what they're accustomed to doing. Other people may look at that and that's not for them. They just want to be told and then they'll figure it out like when they get the product.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm in control of this. Just send them over to me. Like everybody's built a certain different way in what they gravitate towards. But we got to finish this up because I think it's really, really important in terms of how they recruit.
More Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next.
We will be back. will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, wrapping up hour number 2 here on AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, at the Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill from the Pillar Exterior Stage. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We're talking about Nebraska's recruiting profile and the types of guys they go after, because my conclusion by what we've seen is that there's way more guys that can end up being really good at college football players than we realize, which I think is possible. Maybe they're not what we talked about, the issues with recruiting services, right? Maybe they didn't go to camps. Maybe they are from an area that doesn't get a ton of attention. Maybe maybe they're just harder to find, right? And maybe Nebraska's just better at finding them than other people are. Or Nebraska is going after guys. And the way I said it was probably wrong earlier. I said earlier that nobody else cares about. What I probably really meant was closer to that they value at a higher level than anybody else does. And I'm trying to figure out which is which, and maybe it's a little bit of both. But, I obviously I'm a big Moneyball guy, but that's sort of the sense that I get, right? They've identified attributes in high school football players that they find really valuable that lead directly to winning, right? That's what Moneyball is all about, right? We realize that on-base percentage correlates more directly to scoring runs than batting average or stolen bases or whatever else does, right?
Yeah.
So my I guess, theorem here is that they've identified their on-base percentage things, their variables that they think lead more directly to winning than what everybody else does.
Okay. So the money, the reason I don't think the Moneyball thing is entirely accurate is there are still attributes that they like, Moneyball people, that the non-Moneyball people like.
Yeah, sure.
It's just on where they put the priority.
Well, okay.
So in the same vein, all coaches want low maintenance competitive guys.
Sure. But they don't necessarily prioritize.
They don't it's where you prioritize.
See, and I would have gone
things.
I would have gone opposite. I would have said everybody likes fast guys. Everybody got guys with a certain athletic profile, right? But they don't necessarily. They'll value that over the competitiveness or the low maintenance.
But the point remains
same idea.
And I think what you're willing to put up with to get to the end result is also very, 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 very important. If I don't care what the organization is, I don't care if this is athletics, I don't care if this is business. What your non-negotiables have to be at the crux of your culture. If you find particular individuals that are so talented, but it is so anti-culture, you cannot roll the dice on those people. Listen to what I'm telling you. If your culture is set, can you take on a little water?
You can gamble on a couple guys.
But what you can't do is compromise the integrity of what you're building. You cannot have,
So how do you walk that line?
You have to know your worth.
Of the program?
It's general. You have to know your worth as the individual conveying the message, the worth of what you're willing to compromise, and the worth of what you're willing to invest in. You better slot all three of those bad boys the same before you get ready to extend some grace and roll the dice. Because you have to know exactly what you're dealing with in terms of potential outcomes. You want to talk chaos theory? What we're talking about right now is exactly that.
Right.
It is exactly navigating the chaos theory. If I have the high price, if I have the high talent medical device exec, but I'm in a culture, I'm in a working environment that promotes, hey, you can be a high earner, but these are some non-negotiables, and that person is in direct violation, and he's part of a team or a region or whatever. Like at some point, that's going to have consequences. Does that high earner make enough for you to compromise the business that you're trying to stand on?
Yeah.
Whatever the answer to that question is how you know how to proceed.
So you have to be really good at identifying ancillary benefits and drawbacks.
Real time.
Because, right, so let's use the sales executive as an example here. Let's say they do $1 million of sales a year, just nice round number, right? Let's say everybody else on your team before they came aboard did $750,000. They're 25% better than everybody else, right? But let's say this person comes on board. Now all of a sudden, it's a toxic environment. All the rest of performers are only doing $500,000 a year.
Or a better example as a head coach would be that top performer requires 50% of your time. 50% more of your time than you were giving before.
Right.
So that may have gotten him to, $1.5 million.
But it dropped everybody else.
Everybody else is down.
So at what point, where's the balancing act there, right?
So that's what coaches have to be willing to do.
So
like
early on,
if you get a guy, listen, if you get a guy like Tommy Hill that is going to be, a draft pick, you have to be willing to say to yourself, this is what we believe in. This is what I think he brings to the table. This is where there isn't any overlapping. You give it the Venn diagram thing. And then where do I stand as the overseer in all this? So this guy may be willing to suspend early on to set the tone, even though that's not something that I normally would like to do to start off a spring with a new regime.
Yeah.
But it fits with my personality. I'm not willing to jeopardize the culture, so therefore I'll roll the dice enough on this high-end talent because I believe he or she has enough of fill in the blank in them that I can get out.
Yeah.
That time it worked, right?
With Xavier Betts, it didn't.
With Xavier Betts, it didn't.
And you have to be okay with that.
You gotta be okay with that.
Does
that make sense?
You also have to.
That's life, though.
Yeah,
that's relation. I'm telling you, like
there also has to be like a hard point of no return, right? Both ways, right? Because so like if you're compromising, or you're compromising whatever your values to be like, hey, I think we can navigate this high talent individual that's a little more high maintenance, right? There's a point where you just have to cut bait and say we're done, right?
Ravi, listen to what I'm telling you. Shane, you listening?
I got my ears peeled.
Boundaries without consequences are they're just suggestions.
Yeah, they're meaningless.
Listen to what I'm telling you.
It's like a parking lot stop sign.
Boundaries.
It's a good idea, but
without consequences
Yeah.
are merely suggestions.
Yes.
101. Life 101. Why is this work for Coach Rule? Because and who knows in terms of wins. But in the grand scheme of things, he possesses the one quality numero uno that's going to give him the best chance. There's enough humility to go with his self-awareness based on his experience. Just a fancy way to say this dude is so self-aware of where he is and he's been through enough. It breeds this certain level of leadership confidence. He's not the guy that says, I've been through this, I know. It's, I've been through this, so let me assess and see where it fits big picture. That's the difference. That's where the humility kicks in. Because a lot of times when you hire guns for hire and mercenaries that can come in and fix and rehab, you know why they're typically not good long term? Because they don't need the self-awareness part. They just need to know what the task is. They get it done, and then they move on.
Yeah.
That's why I was surprised to see the Dallas Mavericks re-up Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd has clearly had a shelf life in terms of who he functions at a high level around.
Yeah.
But the wild card is maybe that individual is a lifelong learner too.
Yeah, maybe they've gotten
so
better.
if they are,
yeah,
then you give yourself a chance. If not, then that's where you'll have those conversations. Man, I can't believe they re-upped him. He's had a shelf life of this, or this has been his history. So you don't want to cap the individual too, but I think those are hard conversations that you have to have out loud with people that are running whatever it is that you want them to run.
Well, it's the conversation we had 5 years ago about Frost, right? Was, hey, I didn't think he was capable of making the changes necessary. And you're like, hey, maybe if he's got the self-awareness, it's possible, right? Like there's still a way for this to work.
Yeah.
And I said, I just don't think it's in him, right? And I was just outside observer. But that's the same dynamic you're talking about, right? Is if you have the self-awareness to be that lifelong learner, you can make changes to the way things are going.
Yeah, that's why Severe wanted to wring my neck. He's like, you're assuming best case scenario. What if he's just not capable?
Right.
And he would say that every day, not every day, but like when it would come up, right?
Oh,
and
it was like, close to every day.
You know, but my natural tendency is to think you're always capable if you want to be. Now that, believe me, that has cost me sometimes though, but I'm not willing
to write people off,
to abandon that just yet.
Yeah, and I am.
Oh, I know, but that's kind of why it works though.
Yeah, for sure.
That's kind of why it works.
Yeah, because there's different perspectives on. I mean, we can agree on a lot of things, but there's certain points where we'll get to where you'll be like, oh man, there's still a chance, and I was like, I am done here.
Yeah. I'm just telling you, like that's why it works
for sure.
Coach Rule's a hard liner.
Yeah.
So do you know what he needs to pair himself with?
People who think the best is still possible.
Yeah, that's why he married his wife.
Yeah, I think that's probably why he's got certain people on his staff too.
Right? Like this is how it goes.
But that's how you know he's self-aware, is he knows where he's not as good.
It's
like he knows the things he needs help with.
It's definitely a gift.
Coming up next, we're going to talk to Alex Sindelar. He's Creighton baseball analyst, Creighton baseball has had a tough go of things. We will get into that next here on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
He is squaring, and he gets it down. Van Emmen with one play to first, but Delana couldn't squeeze it. And then the ball goes into foul territory. Brian Padilla then throws it into the left field. And Ben North is going to come home to score.
That blackout segment was brought to you by Ravi Lulla.
What?
What?
What's the blackout segment?
I don't know. Did I say blackout segment?
Say blackout, blockout,
Black couch.
black couch. Oh, like therapy.
Yes.
Therapy. That's all right. We like to do a little on-air therapy on the show every once in a while.
If you want to figure out why successful entities win and why some don't, it's seldom just what we see.
Yeah, the on-the-field stuff is usually
It's
not
seldom
the only...
just about listen. Yeah, Iowa has been trying to explain that for years.
Yeah, because the on-the-field stuff doesn't add up at all.
Yeah, guess what though? They got some non-negotiables.
Yeah, and they have some pretty consistent standards of winning.
Yeah,
even if it looks horrifying every year.
Now, some people can be so uber talented, like Georgia, where you can have some of that.
Yeah,
and those guys either fall by the wayside or you get by them, or that's never reported.
Yeah,
and you can continue to keep thriving. I just don't know how healthy the culture is, but
long term, I don't think that lasts. I don't.
Yeah,
long term, there's a tipping point. I don't know how. Maybe it's 10.
Well, I got to get inside 10-133 to see.
Yeah.
How long is too long before it's a bad business decision, but currently not right now.
We will we'll continue this conversation in a little bit, but right now we got our guy Alex Sindelar. He's a Creighton baseball analyst joining us on the Hurrdat hotline. Alex, what's going on, buddy?
I just drove through Ponca, Nebraska. I'm way up in the northeast corner of the state today, heading out to Niobrara. Other than that, yeah, I mean, it's not raining here, so it's kind of nice. Got a little bit of blue skies.
Ponca had a couple basketball players I was enamored with.
Yeah.
Carter Kingsbury. Was that Kit Carter?
You talking about 3 years? Was that about 3 years ago?
Yeah. Carter. He had a brother too. I think their dad played at Iowa.
I know one thing. They were playing some good hoops for a while.
I saw that kid as like a sophomore, and I was just praying he didn't like outgrow what I was able to recruit, but he did. So I was mad about it. But
Dixon County. How many counties have you seen, A-Train?
I mean, I don't think there's a county I haven't seen in the state of Nebraska at this point.
You 93 for 93?
Yeah,
Wouldn't that
keep
be
a journal of all the numbered license plates.
So are you good? Are you good at that, Alex?
Driving?
No, the wow. That's something I would say. That's why I like him. No, the county thing, like the numbers.
Like, do you know which ones are which?
Heavens no, I have no idea. It's one of those things that I like take note of it and then I look it up. But that wasn't something that we were taught in school, at least when I was.
The only thing that mattered was 1 and 2, and now they took those away from us. And 5-9, the one that looked like a
Sarpy,
fraction.
baby.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually got really mad when they took away Omaha's 1 because I felt like people needed to be reminded of our place in the world.
That's so petty. That is so.
Just kidding.
petty.
We're on statewide. We love everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah. Shout out to 590, by the way, because I was like, man, this signal's going to cut out at some point. Staying strong.
It just
does. It's a monster blowtorch.
We love it.
No, it rocks. I'm just glad that I don't have to switch to an app or anything. I can just leave it on the radio dial. It's sweet.
We didn't even pay him to say that. Alex, where are you headed? You're headed to Niobrara today. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm headed to Tonka Golf Course. We got a little. It's the Joe Hadwick Golf Tournament. It's the Nebraska Golf Course Superintendent Association's fundraiser golf tournament. And for people who don't know who Joe Hadwick is, he was the superintendent at Country Club of Lincoln for a long, long time.
Nice.
And so he was always considered the sod father, which I think is a great great nickname. No, so this is his memorial tournament that we get to play in, and
so
it's nice.
It's like the Met Gala for Nebraska golf course superintendents.
Yeah, pretty much. And since this is 3 hour ways from the metro, 4 hours from Lincoln, I mean, I think people need to take it easy today. So I don't know if we're gonna be enjoying too many cocktails or canned beverages. So it'll just be a good day to golf.
That's an Adele moment. Easy on me. It's a great song, by the way. If I could sing and I wasn't in the shower, I would try.
That's never stopped you before, my guy.
I know. I don't want to embarrass myself in front of Alex again. Okay, are you good at that? Driving? Driving?
Alex, all right, let's hop into something that somebody's not been very good at, and that's Creighton baseball in conference. 5-12 on the year.
Incredible.
I believe I saw a stat that Creighton is 20-5 in their last non-conference games and 5-20 in their last 25 conference games. My question to you, Alex, is what the hell?
That's a really good question. Gets right to the point. I have no idea. I just don't think they bring energy, and they don't become engaged in the game in these weekend series. And
okay, but hold on.
Yeah, go ahead.
The weekend series in the non-con were just fine. Like that's what I don't get, right? Like they go out to Stanford. I know Stanford's not great this year. They go out to Stanford, they win 2 out of 3. They go to Charleston Southern and sweep. Like the other weekend, like the non-conference weekend series have been fine. That's why it's not a midweek versus weekend thing like it is with Nebraska. It's literally they can't beat anybody in this crap conference.
Yeah, it's inexplicable. And I don't know if like Creighton's just got like a target on their back or something, but all these teams just seem to like stand up and play them well. It just doesn't make any sense. I have no rhyme or reason to understand why it is the way that it is. But like midweek, they are so good and they are so energized. They're ready to play. And then they get to these weekend series and it's like
against better teams.
It's like someone shot their dog right before they got to the ballpark. And they told them like, hey, you guys got to go play 3 games and you have to win these or else it's over.
Alex, let me ask you something. So the low-hanging fruit question is what's next and be speaking generally. But if you can't measure how hard teams want to play or whether they're engaged or not, which is always kind of a weird assertion considering you're there to compete, but I get it.
Especially in baseball.
I've seen
different.
it waver, but what would you fix first? Is it frontline pitching? Is it back end bullying? Was it the recruiting profile? Because they've tried to evolve, right? He's gotten bigger, stronger, more athletic. He's got some corner guys with some pop. They no longer just have to shop at the gap. They've addressed their offense, right? Because for years it was pitch and play good defense, pitch and play good defense. But they kind of had to evolve on the recruiting scene. So what's the next phase in the evolution if you want progress? Because we're trending in the wrong direction.
No, I mean it's and we've talked about this before. It's 100% the frontline pitching. I mean it's the weekend starters, and the fact they had so many injuries this year, and we've talked about that ad nauseum. But it really is. It's just you need at least two dudes who are going to eventually play, maybe top out at like AAA or maybe get a cup of coffee in the show. I mean, you need that in college baseball. You need 2 arms that you can ride throughout the season. You pitch on Friday, get you 6 or 7 innings, and then pitch on Saturday and get you 6 or 7 innings. And then Sunday's usually like a developmental guy, right? I mean, it's a guy that you get 4 or 5 innings out of. Maybe 6, and then let the bullpen do the rest. But they didn't have that this year. And I mean, I think that's where they really fell apart, is they just didn't have the confidence in, the patchwork starting rotation that they had. So it was really hard for them this year. I mean, just with all the injuries, but you really do need 2 absolute studs in order to go out there and shove on Friday and Saturday in order to assure that you're going to make a conference tournament. Otherwise, I mean, you're just doomed. And that's kind of what happened to them this year.
So, Alex, let me ask you this question, right? Because it seems like, and maybe I'm misremembering here, seems like it's been a minute since Creighton has had 2 guys like that. And that goes to ask the question, is the current staff in place capable of getting to the place they need to?
Yeah, I mean, I think they are, but it's tough to find those arms. But in the state of Nebraska, where the baseball, especially the high school baseball, is so good, you would think it'd be pretty easy. I mean, Mason Cook went to Millard West, and he's their closer. He's their dude.
Mm-hmm.
But he had to eat a bunch of innings this last weekend just because he's the only guy who could really throw strikes. That's the situation that they're in. So it's like if you're looking at the recruiting trail and then you're looking at the development of that pitcher, I mean, you can kind of piece together in the transfer portal, getting like a kind of a frontline starter that you can maybe, throw out there on Saturdays and then hope for the best. But you really need to develop those arms And I don't think Creighton's, Dylan Tabrock was really their last dude.
Yeah.
Mitch Reagan was kind of the guy before him, but you need those arms in order to kind of ride and develop, and you need that development to happen a little bit faster than it's happening now.
Alex, let me ask you something, and maybe this is my traumatic stress from watching what happened with Nebraska in the conference, where there was this assumption made that, hey, Nebraska, rising tide is going to lift all boats. Nebraska is going to elevate the profile of the Big Ten baseball conference, and they'll dump money, and everybody will follow suit. And we know how that's kind of gone. Is this a deal that when Creighton first got to the Big East, you did have St. John, and it was kind of a 1.5 team league, depending on who the other half was every other year, where Creighton was going to elevate the profile. But now the Big East is a little more pot committed than we thought going in, and that dynamic has changed. Is that part of it or no?
I mean, that is definitely a big part of it. I mean, you look at the coaching changes that have happened in the Big East. Butler's got a new coach. He's young. He's vibrant. He knows how to go and recruit. He's got kind of more progressive attitude. Georgetown is the same exact way. St. John just recently made a change for the first time in 25 years. And you're seeing a little bit more youth. I mean, the oldest coach in conference now is Shep out at Seton Hall. And this is probably going to be his last year, just based on their performance, this season. And then UConn, obviously, just being the public school that's got a little bit more money, that, the 11.7 scholarships is, not really a factor for them because it's a state school. Yeah. It's a little bit more affordable. You don't need to rely on that as much. But yeah, I mean, just the general trend. I mean, Villanova's young coach, he was their pitching coach on the staff before. It's all young assistants that have really made a splash. They've been way more progressive in recruiting. They've been way more progressive in development. And it feels like Creighton's kind of been left behind in that regard. I think there is definitely a new wave of buy-in in the Big East of where they're getting guys, they're able to develop them, they're able to, create some studs, but they're creating good baseball teams with good culture. And that's what didn't exist when Creighton first got to the Big East. And now you're finally seeing like the fruits of that labor that Ed's put in and Ed Blankmeyer out at St. John's put in as well. They were kind of the old guard. And now it's a completely different league. I mean, you look at Xavier, and, Scott Guggens was there for a long time, led him to a lot of first round, good, not great teams, but, they got to the NCAA tournament often. And, you look at them and they have excelled since he's left as well, since he turned coach at Cincinnati. So it's like you have a lot of young progressive coaches, and it just feels like Creighton's kind of behind the times now.
I was just watching a lot of college baseball this weekend, and it's 2024. COVID was 4 years ago, right? But it seems like baseball is hanging on the longest, where they still have a lot of older, mature teams. Basketball's kind of turned the calendar. They were kind of young again for the most part. Football is coming back to the pack in that regard. Why do you think baseball still is predominantly mature, older, strong bodies?
Yeah, I think it's just a game that lends itself to that. I mean, you see these top tier teams, and especially like when you look at SEC teams, and SEC teams are kind of able to pillage pretty much every smaller mid-major conference, and they're able to get grad transfers. They're able to get kind of senior players. They've got a lot of experience under their belt. And in college baseball, experience is king. I mean, if you go through enough simulations of A, losing, but B, pitching innings and figuring out what's working, what doesn't. I mean, baseball stuff lends itself to be kind of that match. It's a very mature sport. The more that you succeed, you've seen failure just as much. And so you're able to kind of capitalize on that a little bit more, I guess, in baseball, where, experience really is the highest, the peak of it. I mean, you can have raw talent, but until you get shelled, 4 games in a row, and then you're like, I don't know if this is for me. If you can live through that season after season, by the time that you're a senior in baseball, it's like you've seen it all. You've seen every type of hitter. You've seen every type of pitcher. It lends itself a little bit more to, for success when you have that experience.
Alex, last thing for me here, and then we'll let you go. You talked about Creighton maybe needing to get a little younger, a little more progressive. Where does that leave Coach Service, who has been here forever, has tried to change ways a little bit, but it doesn't seem like it's heading in the right direction. In your opinion, what does Creighton do next?
Yeah, his contract, as far as I know, and because they're, a private Jesuit university, they don't publicly, make this, information widely available. But, as far as I know, he had a 2-year contract when Marcus Blossom first signed on, and that contract has since expired. I wouldn't be surprised if Creighton makes a change at the end of this season. It's not the way that you want Coach Service to go out. I mean, obviously you would want to make a regional, you'd want to make the Big East tournament, but I wouldn't be surprised if we do see him, kind of right off into the sunset. I mean, he's been there for ages, and it's synonymous with Creighton baseball. He is. So I wouldn't be surprised to make a change, maybe go after a younger coach or, elevate head.
Alex, I appreciate it. I think your cell phone service finally gave out. Luckily, we got to the very end there with you, so we appreciate it. Enjoy Niobrara, and hope you're driving safe. Although you are a good driver, so as we learned today, so I think you'll be okay. We appreciate it as always, buddy. Yep, he can't hear us. All right, appreciate Alex Sindelar joining us there. Yeah, they're in a tough spot. They're in a really tough spot because they actually, like, on the surface, really good year, but they're not going to make their conference tournament. They're not even close. That's too many years they haven't made a conference tournament in the league. You got to be able to make the top 4 in this league.
Yeah, and that's the irony in that is this locally. This includes Nebraska and Omaha.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first guy that I used to go watch that let me just watch practices.
Service?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a huge fan.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, like Alex said, he's synonymous with Creighton baseball. It's a really difficult decision if that's the decision you decide to make, but whether it's him, whether it's, some other place on the coaching staff, because Alex is right. You do need those frontline starters. I don't know how – actually, I know it's not easy to get those frontline starters at Creighton, right, or at the Big East. Like, you're not getting a lot of those ready-made guys at this level. So you have to be able to develop guys with potential. They've missed on that for a while now.
You know what's interesting? Do you think I'm right? Go. No.
Almost never.
Does college baseball still seem like it's the oldest
old.
of the oldest of the sports?
Yeah.
And I know football was very mature, especially the previous 2 years.
Yeah, last year especially seemed like the really old year.
But baseball,
yeah,
of the 3 seems like, even volleyball, it's like, did COVID affect those sports different? And if it did, why? But maybe Alex alluded to it when he talked about the pillaging of the smaller conferences and getting guys that could maybe sit a year, had the COVID year, then come back and contribute. Maybe that's something, but not necessarily so much the grad transfers.
Think about the environment of professional baseball when you leave college, right? Let's say you're going to be a mid-round pick. Let's say you're round 10 or above. Okay.
So you're obviously not Max Clark or somebody like that.
Yeah, so you're not getting big. I mean, you're getting okay money in, rounds 10, 12, whatever.
Okay.
But the money's going down in a hurry. And then understand the environment of minor league baseball, right? It's a lot more lucrative to go to LSU, get paid
good point.
A decent amount of money.
Especially with the slot. Yeah, that's a good point.
Where your life is pretty good.
Yeah.
Life in minor league baseball is not good.
So it's like I said, the knockdown drag out, and you're talking about a 30-some round pick, but that was the knockdown drag out between me and my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Minor league baseball life is rough.
You don't want to ride a bus.
You're riding a bus all the time. You're in crappy motels. You're not making any money. You're getting.
And I think his line was, I'd only been on a bus once in my life, and that was go to my sister's basketball practice at Central.
It's a really tough life. It's a lot better life playing for LSU, playing for Florida, playing for Vanderbilt. Like, if you're a guy that's like, hey, I'm going to be a mid-round pick.
But it's just crazy to see these the turnovers, right? I'm looking at Ole Miss this weekend, or watched them against A&M, and just there's still a lot of old baseball teams. And speaking of which, how about our guy? Another show bump. We're not going to take credit for the good times.
What's that?
Jackson Brockett coming out.
That's right.
And getting them 6 innings.
That's right.
And we broke the Bruncy jinx of not having a Sunday guy go more than
4.
4, I think.
Yeah, I think it was 4.
Yeah. And then Christo came in and shoved.
That's right.
And Indiana can hit.
Yeah.
So that puts Nebraska firmly in a 2 seed.
That's a good spot for them.
One game out of first place, and they got Michigan State. So
doable.
Giddy up.
It's doable.
Illinois can lose one.
We'll be out at the Big Ten championships next weekend.
You already know.
Next week.
You just don't want the early game because then we have to go to work.
Yeah, we got to hustle.
I want hustle.
I don't know. I don't even recognize what we're doing
here.
Yeah,
clutch, though. That, like, Nebraska needed that one.
They did.
You know, especially after Friday.
And Nebraska
were you like, really? Really, guys? This
is what we're doing?
This is what we're on?
This is what we're doing today?
To bounce back nicely, you get the 3-run ding-dong, which is dead and extras.
Yep.
Gutty.
Yep.
And then you had the 2-2 tie, and Nebraska scores and manufactures late, and Christo does his thing.
The arms to shut it down. You got to appreciate I like Will Bolt a lot.
I do too, especially his personality.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He seems like he's wired in a way that would lend his teams the ability to kind of come back from a tough Friday night and kind of persevere and get through.
And Nebraska is the anti-Creighton, right? Really, really good on weekends.
Really good in conference, and a little bit more mediocre during the midweek non-conference stuff, right? But that's the thing about Creighton that I do not understand, because it's not a midweek weekend thing. They're fine on the weekends in the non-con.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense against teams that are better than a lot of these Big East teams. I don't get it.
I'm sure I jinxed it too, because I said I just wanted Nolan Sailors to play in postseason.
He was playing well though.
Just so, man, I just wanted the country to see him.
Yeah, he's a good ball player.
Just on a little bit bigger stage.
But I think
his dad's up there in the East Coast in Connecticut. He tweeted out a picture of a restaurant that looked like it was about the size of my garage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it like on the coast?
Yeah, I think it was in Meridian, maybe.
Okay. Because some of those places have like the best seafood you ever had in your life, and it looks like a shack.
That's what it reminds me of, the little cheese house in Papillion.
Oh yeah.
No, I got to find what that was on.
That's funny. But yeah, it's I think baseball is the one sport where your life will be dramatically worse when you turn pro. Dramatically.
I know.
It's weird,
especially with the college game the way it is now.
Especially in certain conferences, especially, right?
And the fan base.
You go like SEC,
and
ACC.
The good life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go SEC, ACC, especially Pac-12, former Pac-12 to a certain extent.
Did you see the crowd in Lincoln yesterday on Mother's Day?
Yeah.
That was crazy.
More people than were out at Fenway Park. Tell you that. You see a picture of that stadium yesterday?
I tell you what. You were a little premature on the skids, but
I'm not wrong.
You're not wrong.
Listen, you don't buy any good players. It's hard to win games. You don't buy any good players. It's hard to attract fans.
You didn't even. I couldn't even get you excited about their start. You're just like, yeah.
Because I know that roster.
Fool's gold.
I know that roster. It's trash. T-rash. Coming up next, we got more Hurrdat Sports Radio here on AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, live on the Pillar Exterior stage here at the Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. And I got to tell you, go out to Warhorse Sportsbook. Whether it's the casino in Lincoln or Horseman's Park here in Omaha, it's the best place in Nebraska to place your sports bets. We got NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs. The playoffs. You know, we've got some. I mean, what else do we got? We got baseball. Always got baseball.
Golf, baby.
Ooh, golf. Yeah, we had Rory win one this weekend.
How about him run down? So
running down Xander.
Apparently, he's just not a closer.
Listen, not everybody is.
Well, not everybody's going to go 65 on Sunday either. But.
The interesting line,
man, that's hard to deal with.
The interesting quote that I heard
yesterday was a day to chill
during that
watching television.
During that broadcast was, if you're going to see Tiger anymore, it's going to be through Rory. You know, too. I mean, that's not the exact quote, but that's what I took from it.
Well, generally speaking, you're saying what? Gee, Merry Christmas, Shane.
I'm just saying. I mean, that was the most interesting thing that I heard.
You try and gather your thoughts. I'm gonna finish this read here. Make sure you get to Warhorse Sportsbook. If you have any questions, get to warhorsecasino.com/sportsbook for full list of details and house rules.
Pretty sure you said that already.
No bets, no glory. Not the end part.
I'm just saying that I know.
Talk it.
I know he was like 19 under after whatever yesterday.
I got a little OCD.
And he's.
I know. I don't get to do any other reason. I used to, for 15 years, I was the ad guy. It's like, I got to do anything except show up.
Rory's not the new Tiger Woods. That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I know he was like 19.
Water's wet, man.
What are you talking about?
I was just saying that during the broadcast yesterday, there was a segment that they did like that. That's what they were talking about. Like Tiger, if you still want to see Tiger Woods, you got to see it through Rory, because Rory's playing like Tiger used to play.
No, he's not.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say you paraphrased and butchered the heck out of that.
Well, I did, but that's nonetheless. I'm just saying it was a bad.
It's exciting.
Well, all right, fine.
You know who wants to play on tour?
County 7, Madison, Norfolk. What's up?
I didn't know that one.
I know 6. That's Saunders.
I know 10.
22.
Columbus.
Columbus. I know Grand Island's 3. I don't know the county name, but it's Grand Island.
No, it's 8.
Is it 8?
Yeah.
I thought there were 3.
Grand Island's 8.
3s and 8s look the same in my brain.
Grand Island's 8. Kearney's 9.
You're right. Grand Island is 8. Who's 3 then? Lancaster.
40,
no, Lancaster's 2.
46 is out there in Central City.
Okay. Got 59 as our guys in Sarpy.
Drove through Aurora.
Aurora?
Yeah. I told Mike, I said, look, man, Shireman played out there. That's pretty cool.
I'm guessing he didn't care that much.
No, he actually did.
Oh, did he?
Yeah,
okay.
he's like stuff like that.
Okay.
He was getting grilled by one of Nebraska's coaches Saturday about like who he likes in basketball.
Mm-hmm.
So
just tell me he didn't say the Thompson twins. Come on.
No, he went with Iverson and then Bird, and then Coach Knight made the mistake of asking him, "Do you really watch it, or did your dad tell you that?" I said, first of all, I hate Boston. You love Boston. I don't. Because Coach Knighton's a big Boston guy. I said, second of all, it's all this dude does.
Yeah.
He went to YouTube because I wanted to find the trailer for Infested.
Yeah.
It's a spider movie. And I was like, do I want to get into this or not? So I want to see the trailer. This dude on the side of the search history, it's incredible. 1990 this, 1994 that.
See, that's why I can mess.
Olympic
that's why I can mess with Micah, because he's got the Larry Bird thing on lockdown, which I appreciate.
And I guess apparently now there's this 20 years to rebuild segments going, like 20 years to rebuild the Lakers, 20 years to rebuild the like that's the whole search history.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Like you have some issues, but like go watch a cartoon. By the way, Shane, your movie has now grossed about 560 million.
Which one?
Godzilla and Kong.
Oh yeah.
You know how much it cost to make that movie, Shane?
About
135 million.
Yeah, I was going to say
bad for a movie like that.
I was going to say 175.
So they're gonna clean sweep the monster movies because it's gonna surpass Kong Skull Island.
I was gonna guess higher than that because a lot of times with that CGI it costs more, but they did okay.
135.
That's not bad.
So I was gonna say, Coach Sat wants to play on tour.
The golf tour?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all he does.
Really?
He was the only he's not. This is no disrespect to anybody else that I have really good relationships with. He rapidly is becoming my favorite.
You're kind of enamored by him.
He is number one. He is without question the funniest person I know.
That's a little hurtful, but okay.
No, listen. He's incredible.
Yeah.
Yes. Everybody else Saturday morning early, it's in staff, right? Service dropped us off. Everybody's in Nebraska gear.
Mm-hmm.
Every coach. Coach Sat.
Golf gear.
Nice little button down with a little hoodie. Long sleeve. Blue.
Yeah.
Plaid shirt underneath. Eggshell khakis.
Just doing his own thing.
Said, hey man, do you work here? I mean, just incredible. He stole the show a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
He's just, I don't know, man. I'm a big, you don't get that life without him in it.
Yeah.
Like just his consistency. And he doesn't bat an eye at it. He just keeps keeping on.
Yeah.
He's by far and away the most different than anybody thinks.
In terms of public perception?
Yes. It's not, and it's not even close.
Do you think that's an interesting thought?
Listen, it's not even close.
Do you think it's because of the way he comes off publicly, or do you think it's because of the way we viewed the offense last year?
I think a little of both. I think we definitely associate his personality with
what we saw.
Yeah.
because
Like
that
this,
tinges the
this isn't very either creative or fun or and sometimes
or effective.
and he's all business on the podium.
Yeah.
I by far and away want to hang out with that guy.
Yeah. It's hard to separate.
I had a headache from laughing so hard. We're at breakfast yesterday. I could barely finish.
Yeah.
The only downside of this weekend, speaking of not finishing.
Yeah.
I left 2. Now keep in mind, I'm a plate cleaner, right?
Mhm.
Like we've been through this.
Yeah.
I left 2 steaks on my plate.
Dude.
Not in their entirety.
That's disappointing.
Well, first of all, I'm not used to eating breakfast. And it's 8:45 and I ordered steak and eggs because you know
Okay.
how I eat, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I was like, this is perfect.
Protein only. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And my eggs were beautiful, although they had some brown skin around it, which I would never serve anybody, but it's in bulk, so it's okay because
Yeah.
it's a restaurant. They were fantastic. They were the right consistency, yolky. My steak was incredible. And I'm not a strip guy, but they had New York strip. It was amazing. But I got to talking, and it got away from me. So I left the back third. Dinner, it's incredible. Got to talking. Actually moved seats. They're so strategic. I got to tell you this.
They have like seating charts?
Yes.
They want this guy next to this guy.
Yes.
And they want this guy to talk to this guy.
But they leave openings.
Yeah.
So I said,
so you can move around a little bit.
Oh, you're privy to that. That's not new. That's new to me.
Oh no, I'm just
that's
gathering
exactly why.
from,
That is exact because it looks awkward.
Yeah, it does.
But I'm like, why are there all these openings? And
Yeah.
so people like to mingle. So we leave open seats.
Yeah.
I looked at Pat and I said, because that was who I was sitting next to, who is gonna hang out. We're gonna talk to him.
Yeah, we're gonna talk
one-on-one. Just he is incredible.
Yeah. We'll see if we can get him on this week.
Yeah, and he's a tough guy.
Yeah.
Like I was asking the recruits and some of the players, fact, fiction. You know, one thing that I think is true.
What's that?
Nebraska nice is a real thing. It's even more of a real thing than Southern hospitality because you hear that too, right? So we were pitting Nebraska nice versus Southern hospitality versus, the New York City toughness. We were just talking all regional stereotypes.
Yeah.
And I think from all the different places that people were, the Nebraska nice thing is the one that is
like most true.
Yes. It's incredible.
Interesting.
Like people are blown away.
The staff or the players or who? Or everybody?
Well, for sure, it started with the staff.
Yeah.
Like I had probably the greatest driver ever. This guy, Brian Schnorr, works for the university. Micah was like, "Can we trade? He's the GOAT." I was like, "Yeah, he gets my bills. He gets, all the constraints that come with the job too. He can't just be the great storyteller.
Yeah,
because he's a young guy too. Amazing person. I left my phone in the hotel.
Yeah,
I'm trending in the wrong
direction.
direction.
Imagine my surprise.
And he goes back to get it for me during breakfast.
Nice.
But anyway, like it's real.
Yeah.
Sanders, his parents, and we can get into what their thoughts were, but blown away. He said we've been everywhere.
We'll get into that next. We obviously had some high profile recruits that were hanging out with DB in Lincoln this weekend. We'll
Not
see.
me.
Well, they were hanging out with somebody. They were in Lincoln at the same time as you. That's all I know. We'll see. We'll see what we found, what we can find out coming up next. We wrap up the show here on a Monday on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Wrapping up the show here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage, talking about a little official visits to Lincoln over the weekend.
Nebraska, nice, baby.
Yeah, it's interesting. You said out of the
regional
stereotypes, right? So Nebraska, nice, Southern hospitality, East Coast tough. I get what's West Coast, like soft. Yeah. And I don't know what Texas is, just out of their minds.
To me, that sounds soft.
But Nebraska nice is the realist.
Yeah. Did I say, speaking of tough, I told you he said he beat your brains in ping pong.
Oh,
right?
yeah, no, he did. And I was like, yeah, I probably would. I'm not.
That wasn't the exact language he used.
Well,
but
you know.
Is what it is.
I told Jay, because like I'm watching the dogs, you guys are like texting me, make sure they're cool or whatever. And she told me that he's like, yeah, he said I'll play you in ping pong. And I was like, I'm not that good at ping pong. I was like, well, let's play in some pickleball.
I didn't even see them.
I'll play some pickleball.
It was, so I told you Coach Sad is exactly who you think he isn't.
Yeah.
Hilarious. You know who's exactly like you think they are?
Who?
Coach McGuire.
Yeah.
Just watching the games, like they played super competitive. So what's the game that you slide across the stuff you use to clean up vomit?
Oh, shuffleboard?
Is that what it is? With the little things you can knock off behind the line?
I think so.
But this is you're standing, though,
Yeah.
so you're sliding them on the thing.
Yeah,
I thought shuffleboard was the one that they played on the Love Boat.
Yeah, and they've got that's a different thing. I don't know what it's.
Shane, what is that game called?
Well, they have a couple of different versions of that. I mean, you get the one that's like in the bar. You have that. You have the one with the stick. You have that.
This didn't. So anyway, like they had the one. He has this at his in his condo, and so they're playing, and there's all these other like games that you can play, and it's like Coach McGuire would say,
That's like one of these deals, right? Like one of those.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's shuffleboard.
He goes, "That's a good move. I like that. I could see that. That's a good play. That's." I mean, everybody else is talking trash. It's a good move.
Oh yeah, I like that.
I could see that.
I hope that's not disrespectful in any way.
No, not at all, because you're sensational. But it was just he's exactly like you think, and some other guys just aren't.
So you're there with David Sanders Jr.
Yes.
With Nicholas Clayton.
Correct.
And Broderick Scholl.
Yes. Yes.
What?
This will not be like the Monday after the spring game where I made a proclamation that was not a proclamation yet.
But it's turned out to be
Yes,
true.
sir.
Turned out to be
I
true.
know
so
nothing.
it's okay. Nothing.
Hey, I was sweating bullets. Somebody DM me. It might have been TK. TK was like, "Yeah, you'll probably be getting a call over that one." It's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
So out of those guys, I know you guys kind of split off a little bit, but you spent some time with I know Sanders' grandparents. And
I know
parents a little
I
bit.
know the adults way better than the kids.
So what did the adults think of Nebraska?
They were blown away. His dad, first of all,
because a lot of these kids, right? Like the key to getting them to come someplace is either the parents, grandparents. Like you got to unlock sort of the
So he brought his three sisters, which was fantastic.
Sanders?
Yes.
Okay.
So Zoe, she likes Coach Rayola's daughter probably the best, but everybody. Madison. Coach Cooper's daughter's in the hunt.
Yeah.
I'm a cutie pie. He's in huge trouble. Oh boy, you're gonna be fighting. So the they brought the kiddos, which was great, and they think of everything, right? So you have hosts that can take them on tours, and there's random pictures of kids in flotation devices. They're all over the facility, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't even see anybody. Like that wasn't an untold. So I think they really liked it, and his dad was like, we've been everywhere. He goes, it's not even close. And he said, pick one, like the facilities. He liked the presentation. I think, they had a really good time, and he brought both grandparents.
I was like, we just heard Patton say it's the best football building in the world.
No, it is. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And they have there's this room, and it has turf. It's probably.
Is that the walkthrough room?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can see the television and the screens. And so as you walk through, they have all the recruits' videos playing in that room.
Oh, nice.
As you're taking the
tour. The highlight videos?
Yes.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. Think of everything.
Yeah. So then there's going to be this new space that's on the roof where they're going to actually use it for recruiting. So you're talking about changing the floor on the top ceiling of the roof of the building.
Yeah.
The
Making
cement thing.
Habitable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because this is the tough nitty-gritty, grew up without much, don't waste anything, Coach Rule. He says we're going to use every square inch of this facility.
Yeah.
Whether it's revamping the atrium, whether it's utilizing the roof space, like we are using all of it.
Yeah.
I'm like, bless your heart. I don't know who would think of that, but that is an amazing thing because it overlooks not the city because it's facing
the other way,
the Waverly way.
Yeah.
But it's still pretty.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of funny because you think of a lot of these.
They couldn't believe Corey Campbell, like his staff.
Yeah.
The weightlifting. If you like what I do, see, the kids can't appreciate that.
Yeah.
They can't. But measuring frames and the ability to carry weight and deck scan and hitting certain measurables that give you a baseline to even be functional to do what you do, and to station off how you've already thought of, hey, 2-month guys that are in rehab that we think are ready to play on average over the last 10 years of data they're testing puts them about with this group. So we don't want them to be alone. So we'll put them in our developing freshman group or developing players up next to play group. Like they're already thinking about where to slot guys in terms of their numbers to keep them competitive based on,
because it's really easy just to be like, hey, all the injured guys go over here,
or
all
and
the
all you
freshmen-
go over here, and all
freshmen
you go over here.
all the red shirts go
No,
over here.
I'm telling you, everything they think about is like iron sharpens iron. Like, and you're going to get some sparks, but
So you
iron
want their peers. You want
Yes.
them to be with peers,
peers.
right? Both physically more so than
Yes.
age, weight, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Because if you're
And that's not for everybody. Like you
Yeah.
have to really put together some data.
yeah. Well, yeah, you
know?
have to have a ton of information to be able to do that properly.
Yeah, just because Rex Guthrie's rehabbing doesn't mean he should be rehabbing with Deshaun Singleton.
right.
Right?
Yeah, maybe he's more on the same
Or-
level of
pick.
Yeah.
Right. So
depending on where he's at in his rehab.
So I do like that.
Yeah.
Right. Like maybe as a freshman, you may be
Further along
then
than a couple sophomores or whatever.
So,
So you end up in a different group.
you know, he should have been a good spot. The cool thing, like they had testimonials from players that he had trained, like Ryan Burns and some other guys in the NFL, like personal, because you could tell Coach Campbell's not interested in talking about himself.
Yeah. Not real salesman-y.
No, but he knows his craft, and he has a huge staff.
I
So his
could talk
supports-
to that dude for hours.
So, and I thought of you, so I listened closely, even though I'd heard a lot of it before. His big thing was, well, why do we have so many people? Why did they specialize in this? Why does this group have this? And he said, well, it's my job to make sure that there's as many of me as possible, so everybody doesn't always need to be around me. And I just was like, that's a guy that's pretty secure.
Yeah.
To teach other people and model what he knows, so he doesn't have to be, because he's operating under the thing like, listen, man, if I got hit by a bus tomorrow, I want this place to be able to function at a high level.
Right.
I'm
an organization can't be contingent on one guy.
But it is so like,
but that's
a lot of people don't think like that.
Well, right, because everybody wants to believe there's a humility in that, because
you remember I told you like those, he seems to be around guys that don't care who gets the credit.
Yes,
that's how it is. He didn't even want to talk about himself. He had other. I'm just like, there is a reoccurring theme,
because the tendency, just human nature, not good people, bad people, whatever, is to think that you are the secret sauce, right?
I asked him, Coach Rule, I said, it seems, I don't know if this is intentional or not, but you always, you and I talked about it, right? He deflects praise and he absorbs criticisms.
Yeah.
Right? Hey, running backs look good today, or Coach Barthel's got running backs put the ball on the ground a little bit. Yeah, you know what? I got to do a better job of making sure that I'm working with our guys to get what they need to make sure that ball security. Say something else good. Oh, the quarterback. Yeah, Coach Thomas, Coach Satterfield. With that offense and
Working
implementation
great together, and
hey, quarterbacks. Oh, they're a little shaky today. With the down and distance thing and guys, like, I got to make sure that when we're on par, that I'm putting them in positions to be successful.
Yep.
Like, it's just, and I was like, just tell me, like, is this scripted or like, I was like, it's just me, be honest. He's like, look, man, I talk how I talk. Like, I just think as long as you have the plan in place and all you're communicating what your plan is, it's going to sound a certain way.
Yeah.
But that's the only intentional part of it.
Yeah. Right. I mean, as somebody whose people have wondered if things are scripted before, I can appreciate that for sure. That's the show for today on a Monday. That's DB. I'm Ravi, Lulla. Super good stuff. We'll get into more of the recruiting weekend tomorrow. Obviously, I'm going to do a little TJ Lateef film dive. I've already started.
I love your comp because it's out of the norm.
And I think there's something there. I'm going to keep watching to make sure I'm not crazy, but
you're crazy.
Maybe about that specifically. I'm usually crazy about other stuff. DB and I will be back tomorrow with more Hurrdat Sports Radio.
see you. Have a good day. Love you.